Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to Birds of a Feather Live on A2D Radio, A2D.com. Live from the BMW of Atlantic City Studios, BMW of AtlanticCity.com. First half brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, our certified public accountant. Make them yours, GibsonMayer.com. We got our poll question of the day, guys. Poll question brought to you by Scanzano Sports, ScanzanoSports.com. Is current Eagles players who have a that's actually our regular. Which player who was active during the Super Bowl will leave the biggest legacy? We have Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Jason Kelsey, Zach Ertz. Is there somebody else, guys? Join us on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, all the good stuff, Twitter. Chrome, Ryan Brodo over on the ones and twos, killing it as always. Here once again with Paul Hudrick from NBC Sports Philly. Also back here with us, Chucks. Before we get into it, as I let you guys know, I just wanted to dedicate this show to a special guy in my life, one of my friends who passed away. He was a huge Philly sports fan, and he died unfortunately last week. But he did get to see the Eagles win the Super Bowl, so I just wanted to dedicate the show to Dan DeMarco. So you guys know how much that means to me. So this
God
show's
bless.
for you, Dan. Guys, we're going to have a great show today. We got a lot of fun conversation. What I was starting to go over, one of the things that we kind of deferred from last week so that Chucks and Tom could scream at each other and
It was great.
and blow the roof off
We
this
ate
place.
popcorn. It was
We had
great.
popcorn. It was amazing.
Popcorn looked good.
That gift, by the way, Ryan, I'm going to need that.
Yeah.
That I'm going to need that.
Oh, it's
popcorn gift.
priceless. One of the things we definitely were going to touch on today, guys, current Eagles players who have a chance to either be inducted into the Eagles Hall of Fame, the actual Hall of Fame, numbers retired. We'll figure out what our benchmark's going to be. We're going to go through the current roster. We're going to talk anything else you guys want to talk about. You know, if you want to start getting some draft prep in, we're the show for you guys. We got Paulie here. Paulie releases.
Draft talk is live and well.
Paulie with NBC Sports released his first mock draft, and maybe we'll go through a little bit of that with you.
Sure. At least the Eagles pick, right? We're not going to go through all 32, but
Yeah, and if you guys, if there's any
we
position,
can. But
We can.
you know, and weekly, what we're going to do is, Brian Wilson already cracking me up. I'll read it in a second, but one of the things we're going to do, especially now in the off season, is with Paulie and his expertise in the draft, we're going to focus on some positions, and we are going to go through and some names to look out for, not just for the Eagles, but for
Absolutely.
divisional rivals or even just big names of guys who can make an impact with other teams.
and I think it's good, too, because even though right now the Eagles don't have a second or a third round pick, it's still good to look at players because you never know what could happen as far as a trade, what picks they could have come draft night.
Hey.
So it's always good to look at everything.
Hey, listen, we wanted Dalvin Cook, and how far did he drop last year? We
Yeah.
almost got him before Minnesota traded up.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
you know, a lot of good things are going to be happening. So I'm going to go right to Facebook because Facebook's already jumping in here. Mike Mataraki says, gotta be Fletcher Cox. Has a chance to be one of the top 5 defensive players in the history of the organization, and that is a very good point.
Yep, agreed.
Brian
That's a tough
Wilson says, Jesus,
know.
Charles, bend that brim, and if there's a sticker still on the brim, kill yourself. Yeah,
There's no sticker.
my sticker is on the brim. Brian.
Brian.
I'm a Chucks on this one.
Wilson.
I'm a flat rim grind myself, so I go with Charles on this one.
I keep
Sorry.
it straight. I like to keep
Yep,
it straight.
I like the flat rim as well.
Dion Brown says, what up, fellas? Dion, my man, what's going on, brother? Frank Vespi jumps in. I'll give you the Frank Vespi answer, all of them. This whole team has left a legacy. That is the Frank Vespi answer. But in a lot of ways, he's right. So
It's tough. It's tough to gauge those guys. Yeah, which
so
one?
I'm going to defer to you guys here, and we'll go through each of yours here. So let's start with Paulie. Paulie, who do you feel like is going to leave the lasting legacy on this team, or the biggest legacy, let's say?
It's really hard to argue with Fletcher Cox because he's homegrown. He was drafted. He's going to be here probably for his entire career. He's an all-pro football player. He helped the team win a Super Bowl. He could be the guy that we will look at, and of all three of the things we said earlier, he could wind up being an Eagles Hall of Famer, maybe a Pro Football Hall of Famer, and maybe have his damn number retired. He could be that great. But I'd also say Jason Kelsey is a guy who, when you look at everything this team, he was a 6th-round pick. He was too small coming out of college. So, and he gave that amazing speech. He was an All-Pro this year during their Super Bowl season when a lot of people thought he was done after last year because he had a terrible season last year.
He had one foot out the door last year.
Exactly. People, when Max Unger got hurt for the Saints, people were saying, "Oh, what can we get for Kelsey if we trade him to the Saints?" Like that was a total
guilty.
That was a conversation that happened. And then what did the guy do? He went out and became a damn All-Pro.
Yeah.
So at 30 years old, which makes you think that maybe he still has a few pretty good years left. So I think just with his leadership, his personality, and his play on the field, I think Jason Kelsey might actually, if it's not Fletcher Cox, I think Jason Kelsey might be the next guy on that list.
There you go. Mike Parker says that hat looks cooler on camera. I think he's saying
Yeah, no, it's yours. It looks like,
What's
dude,
up?
it looks like Marty McFly's in Back to the Future, too.
Yes.
With the
Yeah, there you
iridescent
go.
I
brim.
mean, that is the greatest trilogy of all time.
Yes.
So I'll
well,
take it.
I'll take the first two.
Charles, who you got, buddy?
I'm actually gonna go. I can't argue. You can't argue with Cox or Kelsey. You can't argue with anyone listed, or even if you want to go off and mention even a Lane Johnson. I can't
Lane
argue
Johnson's
against
a good
it
one, too.
either. But personally, to me, if I'm gonna look at the names mentioned and anyone on that Super Bowl roster that has a chance to be like a Hall of Famer, I think it's Zach Ertz, because we've been waiting for a breakout season from Zach Ertz, and we finally got it this year. That's obvious. But Zach Ertz, even before this year, what's the adjective I'm looking for? But he was putting up numbers that no one realizes, because he hasn't had consistency. They've all been toward the end of the year and in December.
He's been hurt.
He's been
had
hurt.
injuries,
People
different
don't realize
quarterbacks.
that before this season, he has still put up really good numbers, and then this year he's played at an elite level. With Wentz here and the chemistry they have, I think if that continues to blossom year after year after year for the next few years, you're talking about he will go down as the best tight end in franchise history, and I don't think a Hall of Fame bid is out of the question. You're talking about someone I never thought would be elite, but his chemistry with Ertz and his improvement in every facet of the game has made leaps and bounds, and he's found that consistency this season.
We've talked about it that right now he's probably a top 3 tight end in all of football.
Yeah.
And if Gronkowski retires,
That jumps him up
him or
even higher.
Kelsey, they're the 2 best tight ends in the football. So, and he's just hitting his peak right now with, as you mentioned, with Carson Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
If he continues on the path he was on this year and stays healthy, there's no telling. Like you said, there's no telling the numbers he can
Sky's
put
the
up.
limit.
And he's still, like I said, he's just entering his prime years.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I was the one who came up with the question, and I
Yeah.
didn't have his name. You added his name,
Yeah.
and I was wrong not to have it because it's true. Like he could easily wind up being the biggest legacy of all 4 of those guys.
Yeah, and you're talking about players also. In legacy, you have to talk about not just numbers. You're talking about moments,
Absolutely.
big moments, and
Winning
Ertz
touchdown in
catching
the
that
football,
winning
yeah.
touchdown in the Super Bowl. That's already a huge moment
It's
for his
pretty big.
career.
Right.
Yeah. That's why, to me, that's why also I think Brandon Graham belongs in that. I mean, he still belongs in that conversation.
Yes, definitely.
Because that he made, to me, that's literally the biggest play in Eagles history. That strip
Yes.
sack's the biggest play to ever happen in the history of the football team.
Oh yeah.
And
So-
again, a guy with his story, everyone, they should have drafted Earl Thomas. Oh, he's a bust. He can't stay healthy. Yada. And for him to be where he is right now, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I think for me, I read the question or interpreted the question differently. I think you guys are absolutely right. When we're talking long-term legacy, that's your 2 prime candidates, easily Fletcher Cox. And in here, Mike Lipinski says Fletcher Cox, this team loves defense. He's absolutely right about that.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a long lineage of great defensive players in our franchise history. I'm looking at legacy of this Super Bowl for this year, and there's nobody more to me than Jason Kelsey. You touched on it with the story of him being the 6th-round draft pick. He played for, he came in, he played for Andy, he played for Chip. He's gone through the ebbs and flows similar to a Brent Selleck. But just looking at it, and again, you talk about the year he had, and the speech that he gave instantly off the field or on the field after they won.
Yeah.
Then his press conference.
And then his press conference. And then the way he kind of tied everything up in his speech, whether you care about F words or this and that, whatever, to me, that guy is the face of this team. of
That's
this
fair.
year of 2017/18.
He wore a goddamn mummer's costume.
Yeah.
Right.
Talk
Like,
about a dude getting it. My God.
like to me, that's the lasting legacy when I look back at this, and I think of all the great players. Because I mean, I think of Chris Long
Sure.
is a guy you could throw into the conversation
Malcolm.
if you're talking this year. Malcolm and his leadership that he showed this year. I just think Jason Kelsey is like that guy. He spoke to the city, for the city, to the city, to the rest of the league, to the rest of the world about what it's like and what it's been like. And everybody felt that emotion.
Yeah.
That emotion that he was expressing there is everything that all of us have felt and just wanted to get out there. And he spoke on behalf of all his teammates and every knock that every single one of them had. And that just shows you, like, he takes notes. He knows they hear everything that's said.
The kids say he has receipts.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just feel like the legacy that he leaves behind whenever he does move on, well, I mean, it's true. Everybody says the guy could run for mayor and win.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real.
Yeah, and I'm sure you saw he was in Clearwater pumping the Phillies up for spring
Yeah.
training.
Yeah.
Like, how cool is that? Like,
awesome.
and the fact that he was like, yeah, totally, I will totally do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's so cool.
I mean, he's really ingrained himself in this city and in the franchise.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, to me, he's the one that leaves the longest, the lasting legacy of this team this year.
Yeah.
But I agree with you guys in the long-term view. And if I'm going long-term, I think Ertz is a great pick, but for me, it's got to be Fletcher Cox.
Cox. Yeah.
Team, to me, in the end, maybe it was an offense that won in that game, but this team's success was predicated on that defense, and it starts in the
that
front
defensive line,
with
yep.
that leader.
With Cox. Yeah.
So
And he
Can't
was, and let's be
argue.
the first against the Falcons and against the Vikings. He was an absolute monster.
Yeah.
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 Deion Brown says you look at Ertz's career numbers alongside Tony Gonzalez's numbers in the first 5 years, and they are crazy,
Yeah.
all caps, identical.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of most of the premier tight ends, you look it up, and Zach Ertz's numbers are right there.
And people don't, like I said,
And he doesn't even
fans
get
don't
yak.
even- he doesn't even get
Here
yak.
we go.
People.
Are you gonna when they have like the banner ceremony when they retire at
No yak.
86? Are you still gonna say no
Hashtag
yak?
no yak?
Yeah,
That
jeez,
is
come
gonna
on,
be
man.
there.
Mr. Zach,
Yeah.
no yak.
It's surprising because us here, we've been so harsh on him because of the inconsistency. We don't realize
man.
that his numbers are there, you know. But I mean, it is what it is. I think to play off of what you were saying about Kelsey, even going beyond just his words and everything, I could make an argument that in terms of the linemen that played in that Super Bowl, or even just the whole year, if you want to include Peters too, Kelsey was the best lineman at his position for us. You're talking about someone who PFF. Now you take PFF with a grain of salt because you whatever your opinions are at PFF, they are what they are. But PFF does have good data, good stats, and they did grade out Kelsey as the highest rated center in the league. You're talking about someone who is just on another level in terms of centers, getting up to the second level and on the outside, and just bulldozing people. So I think in terms of Kelsey, long term, I think his production with how he can still produce at a high level for the next few years, I think he still could have a case for definitely Eagles Hall of Fame. I think he definitely could make a case if he keeps it up for several more years to having a Hall of Fame mention maybe.
So maybe we want to jump right into it. Let's go through that list. Let's start going through the team. Ryan, if you want to jump in, you're welcome to. We're going to go through guys on the team, and we're going to go down that list. Eagles Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame, number retire worthy. So let's start right at the defense with number 91. How do you guys feel about Fletcher Cox? Because I think he checks all boxes in that category.
Yeah, like I said, I think he could easily wind up being – if he – again, it's just a matter of health and continue on the pace he's on because, another guy who's just entering his prime. And if he keeps making All-Pro, second All-Pro, Pro Bowls, keeps getting all these accolades, he's well on his way to possibly becoming a Hall of Famer, especially too if the Eagles add another championship at some point. It's another big thing for a guy's legacy. If he wins multiple Super Bowls and is an All-Pro like a handful of times, that's probably a Hall of Famer. It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah, I agree with Cox. I think he does have a chance to have to check all three boxes, have his number retired in the end. And I think we agree that, if we're talking about having the team retire your number, that is, you're automatically a Hall of Famer. Because is there anyone that whose numbers we retired that isn't?
Donovan McNabb.
Oh, McNabb.
McNabb.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the big one.
All right, that might be the only exception, but
Yeah.
I think it goes hand in hand. If you're a Hall of Famer, you automatically are. The chances are you're going to get your.
Yeah,
your number
Tommy
retired.
McDonald, is his number retired? Because I believe he is a Hall of Famer, right?
Maybe he was.
I don't know that Tommy McDonald's number is actually retired.
It's a good question. I'll have to look
That
it
is
up.
a very
Yeah,
good
I don't
question.
believe it is, and he is a Hall of Famer, so
Yeah.
that could be one. But yeah, in general, Charles, I agree. Like, I think at least with this ownership group, because Jeffrey Lurie's the one who ultimately makes that call.
Yeah.
His thing has been either you're in the Hall of Fame or you're pretty damn close. And also, I think it's tied to a legacy of winning, so when you look at those teams, the Andy Reid teams that had all the success, McNabb was the guy on offense, Dalk was the guy on defense.
Yep.
They both got retired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think if you're looking at the legacy from this team, I would say Fletcher Cox, to me,
On
is the
defense.
guy that stands out defensively more than anybody.
Yeah.
As far as play on the field, and he was there when they were at their peak.
Yeah, I agree. with you.
Offensively, it's tough to say because I think one guy we can all agree on is Jason Peters. Jason Peters to
checks
me,
all boxes.
he's
yeah.
a
Checks all
Hall of
boxes.
Famer, and he's getting his damn. There's no way you can't not retire that guy's number. He was the best left tackle in football for almost a decade on this team. So to me, I think he's a shoo-in. So I think those are the two guys. As far as everybody on this team, those are the two guys to me that are just locks to have their numbers retired for this franchise.
I agree with that.
You know what? And actually, Peters is a lock. Fletcher Cox is on his way to becoming a lock. Let me say it like that.
Okay.
Because Fletcher Cox is still pretty young, so he's still got a
speaking
little
of
ways to
Peters,
go.
cap casualty.
No way.
Do you think he restructures?
He could restructure. Well, what they could do is they could technically give him an extension, which could alleviate their cap number this year and wind up paying him more money in the long run, kind of a thing. Give him a signing bonus, which would alleviate their cap hit this year. So that's what if it were me. And I think Howie's a pretty smart fella, as we've all noticed.
Howie Hero?
Especially with the cap. I think that's what he'll likely do is he'll restructure with Peters, and it'll actually wind up being an extension in which Peters, in the long run, will get more guaranteed
So you
money.
think an extension? I was thinking just like a restructure, but
He wouldn't. Jason Peters was unwilling to restructure last year. I mean, I know they just won a
different,
Super
though.
Bowl. I hear you, but I
they
think
won a Super Bowl, and he's a 35-year-old who just tore his
36-year-old,
36-year-old.
yeah.
Well, by the time the season starts,
Right.
I think.
So yeah, maybe he
who
But-
just
some
tore his
leverage.
ACL. So
yeah, I hear you, but
that
I
could change the circumstances.
but
and
I-
now he has a taste of winning and has a chance to possibly get another one on the way out
I hear
the
you.
door.
It's fair. No, but to me, I think the best thing for all parties involved would be, and I'm not saying that when I say extension, I don't mean like 4 years. I mean
No,
literally.
no, it
I
could
mean
be-
literally like 2 years.
Yeah.
So you sign into a 2-year extension, and you put a signing bonus in there. It doesn't count as much against the cap.
Yeah.
Yada yada. I'm not really great with that kind of language, but I know that Howie Roseman is, and so
Now,
he'll be the one who'll be able to manipulate it and work it out.
But if he is a cap casualty, do you think the Big V can step in and be that lead over there? Or do
See,
they
me
have to go
and
out and make a
Paulie
move?
are on the same page here. When
Yeah,
when A2D posted that thing on Facebook, I was like the only one that disagreed, like adamantly. I was like, no, you need him back because I don't have faith in Big V. So whatever Paulie's about to say, I pretty much agree with.
I think Big V has acquitted himself. I'll say this about Big V: he is a much better football player than I ever thought he'd be. That's without a doubt. Because when I saw him at a TCU, I didn't. Whatever the Eagles saw, I didn't see it. And I didn't see it until honestly his best 3 games. Well, not even his best 2. His best game was against the Vikings. That was the best football game I've ever seen that guy play
It
against
was
one of the
insane.
best pass rushers in the NFL.
And it was near perfect. So
Yes.
I mean, yes.
He did struggle. I know I'm going to get killed for this, but I don't care. He did struggle at times against James Harrison. I'm just
Yeah.
going to say it. It's true. He struggled at times. He did the
I
job.
agree.
James Harrison didn't get to Nick Foles, but he did struggle with James Harrison time. James Harrison is 39 freaking years old.
Yeah.
I understand he's kind of a marvel of modern science, but at the same time,
It's James Harrison. though.
I just worry about. I'm not ready to just hand that starting job over to him. I would prefer Peters to come back, but I think Vitae has proven that if Peters does have to miss time, you have a reliable backup.
I feel
That's
like
key.
all right.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
obviously my first option is I want Jason Peters back.
Sure.
But if in the event that doesn't happen, I don't feel terrible about going into the season with Big V. He's got a full off season of training camp, OTAs, all that good stuff, to now get acclimated and get those reps with the first team that he didn't have last season that he was kind of just thrown into. So I feel more confident. He's shown enough progression to me over the playoff run to think, all right, he can come in and he can play at a high enough level. And I've talked about it before, because they have they have good blocking running backs. I think the second level makes up for a little bit of what you have to worry about there as far as, if the defensive end's getting around. You have good blockers in the backfield who can compensate a little bit. So, again,
I don't know, man.
I would rather keep Jason Peters.
Yeah.
But I think that he has done enough to warrant a look and go into the season, even be considered the favorite if Peters is not there.
I think what worries.
Now, I would want a veteran, not a guy to come in to start, but I would want a veteran guy for depth.
I would either want that
him.
or I'd want them to then take a tackle at 32.
At 32. So here's the thing.
Because this is a good tackle draft.
What people. What was kind of bugging me when we were talking about on Facebook is the fact that people are so, just because he had a great near perfect game against the Vikings, and then the Eagles as a team didn't give up a single sack in the Super Bowl, they're already jumping to the conclusion that Big V is here, he's the starter, he'll be fine. I'm with you, and people are going to disagree, but if you go back and look at the film, he didn't have a great game against the Patriots. He just didn't. And just go look back and look at it. Thankfully, Foles played at a high level, got the ball out quick, and the rest of the O-line held up to the point where it didn't lead to any sacks.
He did. To be fair, he did enough.
He did enough.
He did enough to allow Nick Foles to do his thing and to win the game.
And here's the thing: if people saying about, if people say Big V progressed during the season, I don't call it a progression. To me, it was more of like he was okay. He had bad games here and there, but then late in the playoffs, he flashed. He flashed like a great game against the Vikings, and that was it. There's no consistency there for me to have confidence to say that he can be, I'll be okay with him at starter. And also, if you're going to say that, okay, go to the draft. The thing is, we have pick 32, but then no day 2 picks.
Yep.
So you're going to tell me that you're going if we don't pick, say we don't pick a tackle at 32. Say we go linebacker or whatever. We don't pick a tackle at 32. We have to wait till the 4th round to pick a tackle. Are you telling me that a 4th round tackle at best is going to be your insurance policy for Big V?
Big V was a 5th round pick.
Big V was a 5th round pick, but then Isaac Seumalo, who was supposed to be another lineman, starter at the beginning of the season, he was a 3rd round pick. But he flamed out. I don't want to say flamed out. He's so young. He struggled.
I think his Seumalo's biggest problem is that he's a center, and right now the center ain't going anywhere anytime
It's Kelsey. So I can't. If we had day 2 picks, if we had a 1st, a 2nd, and a 3rd, and so we could, because you say it's a deep tackle draft, I'd feel better. I'd be like, okay, maybe we can go to the draft to get a tackle. Then making sure that bringing back Peters isn't as important, but we don't. So I can't rely on the draft. And with Wentz coming back next season off the ACL, I want the best lineman in place to protect him. I don't want like Big V or some rookie out there on his blind side protecting him. I want Jason Peters for one more year.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I hear you. Again, that's option A for me. Clearly option A. Mm-hmm. I don't feel terrible if we have to go into the season with him, though. Dion Brown jumps in. He says, I wanted Luke Kuechly, but that moment Carolina traded up to get him, I said draft Cox, and they did. Barring any major injuries throughout the rest of his young career, yes, he'll be a Hall of Famer for sure. He's a beast, and the rest of the league knows it. Mike Parker says, Nick Williams hit a homer and dented Kapler's car.
I saw that. Kepler said
his rent-a-car.
I think Kepler's quote was, I'm okay with – he's like, I'll trade a Nick Williams home run for a dent in a rental SUV. And
absolutely. Dion then says, I see Peters, Cox, Ertz, and Lane Johnson, the top 4 potential NFL Hall of Fame guys. Maybe even Sproles at some point down the line for all of them. Time will be the judge of that. So interesting he brings up Sproles because we've had this conversation.
Oh, yeah. Even from months ago, yeah.
Unfortunately for Sproles, I feel like that is the equivalent to the DH spot or a closer role, in a sense of it's a very pivotal point in the game. It's a pivotal position. The DH thing drives me nuts because
I agree.
You make that a staple of the game,
It's a position. It's a position.
then there should be something to measure.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
and similar with him, because he is such a, what we always say, Swiss Army knife type of player,
Mhm.
jack of all trades, unfortunately, you still have NFL purists, journalists, who are doing the voting. And
Yeah.
I don't – could he get in down the line? Generational, maybe 1 or 2 generations from now of
But
voters.
then what's
I could see that. People look back and say, man, that was a guy who was underappreciated.
Mm-hmm.
I could also see him, unfortunately, being a guy that falls through the cracks.
Yeah.
I think he's
see
done
him
enough
as a-
for a look.
Yeah.
I still don't
Yeah.
know 100% if he's a Hall of Famer, but I don't think anybody with his type of talent at this point is even close to like a lock
No.
for the Hall
Yeah.
of Fame,
Yeah,
because
it's tough.
purists for the game
Are
won't
not
look at these guys and say, okay. And it's the conversation we had last week, what your preference is, if you like a guy who's a pure runner or a guy who does other things.
Mhm.
Is that a running back? Is it not a running? Is it a,
Yeah.
a specialist? That was a conversation that we had a massive argument about last week. Well, we watched a massive
Yes.
argument last week.
I ate popcorn during a massive argument.
But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I would like to see guys like him get a better look. I don't know if it's going to happen even when I'm here.
Yeah, right.
You know, I think in time, guys like that will get a more serious look. But, I mean, again, we
Yeah, I
talk
don't know.
about it.
It's a
You know, you
valid
talk
point.
about the Baseball Hall of Fame. Edgar Martinez isn't in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
That's a
joke.
disgrace.
Yeah.
So,
No,
It's a valid point.
I just think that I don't think Sproles has got enough to get in.
I don't. Think
I just
so
don't think he
either.
does.
I don't think so
It's
either.
not enough of a resume.
There's also a lot of the way the voting process for the NFL is kind of it's flawed. I think that you have too many names that get overlooked year to year, and there are too many guys that you're still looking at, and you're just like they're still not in the Hall of Fame. So someone who's like kind of like a reach because he's not your traditional running back, like as you say.
do you know where he's at on the all-time yards list?
I believe he is top 10.
He's definitely top.
Okay,
He's
10.
top
some
10.
Mike Parker has. So
Yeah, he's top 10. Last
Yeah.
time I checked, he was 9 or 8. But I mean,
I take that with a grain of salt, though.
Yeah,
purpose?
it's because when
yeah.
you look at some of the other names, like not all those names
Like
are
Brian Mitchell, I think,
yeah,
is
Darren,
2,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
like Eric Metcalf
something
might
like
be on
that.
that
Yeah.
list somewhere.
yeah. So I just think Sproles, as big a fan as I am of him, don't think with the criteria for the Hall of Fame, I don't think he's going to make it. Does he? If you're going to ask me, does he
He's 8.
deserve to be one
8,
because of
okay.
what he's done for the game, because of the obstacles and the barriers he's as a physical player he's had to overcome, and how he's buckled the norm of what a running back should be? I think he should be mentioned because there's no one like him. There has been no one like him to come in and do literally everything. But like returns, catching passes out of the backfield, running the ball at his size, 5'6", 190. Like there's no one that has been able to do that. So I think in terms of recognition and respect, he should be named in the Hall of Fame. But in terms of numbers, Hall of Fame unfortunately is a numbers game. In terms of numbers, he's not
Yeah.
going to make it.
So yeah, because I mean, like Brian Mitchell isn't in. Brian Mitchell's
Mhm.
second all time.
Second
That's what-
numbers.
yeah.
So I mean, out of the top 10 guys of all-purpose yards, there's only 3 not in the Hall of Fame: Brian Mitchell, Darren Sproles, and Steve Smith. And I gotta be honest with you, I don't think any 3 of those guys makes it.
Steve Smith Senior is what,
He's 7th.
7th?
I don't know that he makes it. I mean, he had
I
some
think,
really good
I
years,
think
but
of
not
them,
enough.
he could be an outside shot.
Out
down
of
the
the
road.
3 of them, I think he would be
Yeah.
the one that would be the most likely. I mean, he was really consistent for a while. But I don't know. He had 3 really good seasons. But
played-
other than that,
he
I
didn't
mean,
play on many very good teams, though.
He didn't.
well, he
he
went
went
to
to the Super
Carolina
Bowl.
A
teams
couple
were pretty
of
good,
He went
but
to
but
the Super
not
Bowl that
many.
one year,
You
yeah.
talk about the overall.
and he was what, a 1, 2,
His
3,
career?
4, 5-time Pro Bowler and a one-time All-Pro.
Mark-
Yeah, it's tough to say that he's. I mean, it's tough.
So Marcos Levy, he says, what's up? He says, Big V still needs to improve his pass blocking, but this season has been a big leap for him. And for a 5th-round pick, I think he did his job, especially in the playoffs. And he says, do you think Blunt and Torrey Smith will be back? And what's your thoughts on Doug's decision on Grow and Deuce? Do we want to
No
get
and
into Grow
no.
and Deuce now?
Let's
I
for Grow and Deuce, let's get into later. But in terms of Blunt and Torrey Smith? Definitely Torrey Smith will be gone because that's a $5 million hit on the cap. I don't
hate
think.
it too. I want him to come
I know.
back.
I wish we could sign everyone. We
Yeah,
love this group.
it's
You wish you could sign
Torrey's
everyone.
going to be the one that for me that sucks for me because I really
Yeah.
like Torrey, but I can't imagine him
I
coming
just
back.
think
at
he
5
brings
minutes.
so much to the table.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. Off the field as a leader.
On and off the field, whether the
Yeah.
ball's in his hands or not. It's just the respect that he commands
Yeah.
down the field. And like you were talking earlier, the safeties help over the top when he's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's tough, man. Torrey's going to be one of the ones that's going to bother me, but you're $9 million over the cap. You got to figure it out, man.
Can I get to YouTube? They're kind of blowing up.
Yes. Yeah. Get in on it.
Okay, so David Rosca bringing up what I just mentioned.
What's up, David?
He said Eagles need to resign their own players. They have a chance to be dynasty this year. And this is coming from the guy who said his Rams are going to beat the Eagles in the playoffs. But hey,
Did David Roscoe
that-
give
I
us a
wish-
Mandy Rose comment yet?
nothing. Todd Womack says, "Do you
What's
guys?"
up, Todd?
I like this question, and I'm going to answer it with. Well, hold on. Let me say it first. Do you guys think we should
Well,
go?
since he's going to answer.
Yeah. Do you guys think we should go after wide receiver John Brown? Considering Brown's struggles with injuries the past few years, his availability, his sickle cell trait, where it's taking longer for him to heal from injuries now, I think he would be very cheap. But I think it's – wait, hear me out. When he's healthy and he's on the field, I'm talking about this is a guy who I said 2 seasons ago only, he is what Deshaun Jackson is, but without all the drama and immaturity. John Brown is a legit deep threat. Like, you're talking about someone who can – you want someone who will replace Torrey Smith? If he's healthy, John Brown can replace Torrey Smith and then some.
Big if.
That is a huge if, but this is where money comes in. If you're going to tell me that we can get him for cheap because of his injury history, because of the uncertainty that he'll be able to stay healthy,
You take
personally,
a flyer on
I
him.
would take a flyer on him.
So-
That's just me, though, because I've been a John Brown fan since he got in the league. I think he's essentially your quintessential. He is your quintessential deep threat, but he does a lot more than just going deep. He runs very good routes, and obviously his speed. He has blazing speed. He's just not been able to stay healthy.
See, my counter argument to that would be we already have to worry about what's Carson going to be like, and is he going to stay healthy? If Jason Peters is back, we got to worry about Jason Peters staying healthy. If Darren Sproles is back, we got to worry about Darren Sproles staying healthy.
A lot of ifs.
We already have, and I mean, I think that they've done a job to conserve him, but now we have Jay Ajayi who has a chronic knee issue. You know, we're going to have Jordan Hicks back. We got to worry about him staying healthy. There's too many of our own guys that we have to worry about. I don't want to add another guy to that pile.
So
That's fair.
if I'm gonna,
But I hear what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's dirt cheap, then maybe why not? But
if I'm gonna gamble on a guy on a really low risk and low money deal, the guy I like is Moncrief. Dante
okay.
Moncrief.
see, I
from
like
Indy.
Dante
Okay.
Moncrief too.
Size guy.
He's fast too. He can get he
Yeah.
makes plays on the field too.
I don't think traditionally he's a burner, but
He ran a 4.4. I just had to look it up. 4.40. So
Did he run a 4.40?
4.40 at 6'2".
That I didn't. I didn't. I think it's because
And he gets down the field. Actually,
Yeah.
if you look at like his big play numbers and like his
Mhm.
yards per catch and his like targets downfield, he's been a very good deep
well, I
threat
know
over
he
his career.
is the red zone threat for Andrew Luck when I was with him. He's caught so many touchdowns.
Yeah,
I know that. I just didn't
that's-
realize he had that
hell yeah,
speed.
he can get down the field. But so if I was going to take a flyer on
I like that name.
any of those kind of players, I would go Moncrief. I think Moncrief had a shoulder injury, which as a wide receiver, shoulder injury, like he should be fine coming back. Whereas like you said with John Brown, it's been a lot of lower body.
Yeah.
And that worries me, especially for a
Plus the
guy
sickle
whose
cell.
game is spread exactly.
Yeah.
So that
Predicated
worries
on
me.
his legs and
Ega-
speed.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that worries me. So that's why a guy like Moncrief, I'd rather take a flyer on him for low money.
That's
personally.
fair. That's cool.
Marcos Levy says, I'll get this and then get back there. He just
Yeah.
wants to know. He says, first thing is that we should give an extension to Brandon Graham and re-sign Bradham. Drafted in the first round, he thinks defensive tackle and safety are the position in need right now.
Interesting.
And he says, what about
Safety.
Marquise Lee?
Marquise Lee is probably going to get an okay payday because he had an okay season.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you may as well keep Torrey.
Yeah, well, that's my thing. I was going to say, I guess if he falls into that category of a John Brown or a Dante Moncrief, and that's the kind of like you're going to get a 1 year whatever out of him, then sure, I would definitely think he's worth exploring. But yeah, to me, again, out of the bottom of the barrel guys who I'm going to take a flyer on, Moncrief's the guy.
Yeah, Rob Brinkman thinks linebackers. We'll get into the
Linebackers
draft
too,
stuff in a little bit. Okay, get back to YouTube. But
So after Todd Womack also says, I did like Polian's remarks about the Foles trade. I thought I think
Bill
Polian's delusional
Polian.
if he thinks that's the minimum of what we should be expecting.
Bill.
I really think he's delusional.
Bill.
Would I take it? Would I
Well,
take
of
that in a
course.
heartbeat? You would take
I
that.
wouldn't even think twice.
But I don't think that's the minimum.
I'd take 2 twos.
I take 2
sounds
twos.
great.
I take 2 twos. I'd take a
Without
1
a
or 2,
second?
obviously.
2 twos? Hell yeah, I'd take
I would
2
take
twos.
I would take that.
I take a 1 and a 2 and move up or trade them R32 to move up in the first round and get a second round back with it.
You
Okay.
just blew my mind with that.
Foles and 32 for a second and a first, a higher first.
Okay, I
Yeah,
got you.
I would
to
do
move
that.
up in the first round. and also,
I just
like-
worded it really
No,
well.
no, I
Yeah,
got it.
I-
That makes sense. I got you
yeah,
now.
I
Yeah,
got
so
you.
move up from 32, take their pick in the first, and then also get their second.
Right.
So, Chrome, for example, so you're saying, let me just use the Browns as an example. So, if they said, hey, we'll give you the 4 and a second-round pick
Done.
for 32 and Foles.
Done.
Well,
Done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Done.
Done.
Yeah.
Absolutely done.
I don't know if that. Yeah, I think the Browns. I think maybe more like
I
the
said it-
Cardinals might be more realistic.
Yeah, yeah.
To like 15.
Yeah.
Hey, I said it. Listen, I said it before. If we could get the Browns,
Oh.
I'll polish up the Huffy, throw the pegs on, and I'll ride him to Cleveland myself.
Paul, the only reason why I say Browns and why I think it's actually not realistic because that's not crazy, but
Fourth.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's still on
Fourth
The only
overall
reason
pick,
why I
man.
say Brown,
Oof.
it's because they have 2 picks in the first 5.
If any, we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
I think.
And
the
Rob
Brown-
also thinks
I
any
would
first
not-
round pick for him is worth it.
I agree with
I
that.
agree with that.
completely agree with
Yeah.
that. I would not be surprised to see the Browns draft at number 1 and then
Trade back.
move back at number 4.
Yeah.
True.
Would not be surprised.
True.
Yeah.
Because they have so many freaking needs. Why not get another first
That's
round?
probably, honestly, the best thing that they could do for
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
'Cause
or just draft Saquon. Either one.
On the topic of Foles, and I was going to save it till later, which we can if you want, but I have a question for you, Charles, which we can make as a thing.
Okay.
So I just read your post you made 4 hours ago. If you want, I can read it just to give it context, because
Okay,
there's
go
a
ahead.
question that comes out of it. So Charles put on Facebook, he said, just heard an Eagles fan say that Nick Foles is a top 10 to 12 quarterback in the NFL. And the crazier thing is he's not the only one out there who thinks so. And then he put, no wonder why Philly couldn't have nice things before the Super Bowl. While I do think that is outlandish,
It's
that's
outlandish.
crazy.
It's so outlandish.
My question is, where do you guys, and to the people at home as well,
Ooh, this is fair.
where do you guys rank him as far as
20.
the NFL?
Top 20, 25.
I would say between 20 and 25
That's-
is
yeah.
exactly the number
Top
I
20,
had.
25.
yeah.
He's a starter.
Because
I mean,
He's a starter in
he's
the
a
NFL.
starter.
yeah,
Because there are some
He's
really
a starter
slop
on.
starters. in the
Honestly,
NFL.
I might even go a little bit higher and give him like 18. I think he starts on 2/5 of the teams.
What we need to do is find every starting quarterback in the NFL.
That's
and
40%. He could
Yeah.
decide if we think
Well,
that
he
Nick
could
Foles
start
should
on
start.
40% of the teams in the league.
well,
Yeah,
it's funny you say that, Paulie, because I was actually going to bring that up.
Yes.
If you guys want to play that
Sure.
game
We'll do
later.
that the second
Yeah.
half.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
I like that
Bring
game,
up
though.
the
That's a
list.
fun game.
We'll
Write
go
it
down
down, yeah.
I like
every
it.
team in the
We'll
league
do that, I
and we'll
like
go
that.
through their
Who
starting
would you rather,
quarterback.
Yeah.
Nick Foles edition?
Yeah.
Yes.
See,
Gotcha.
Definitely
see-
whoever's on the Broncos, whoever's on the Jets, I'd take
Yeah.
Nick Foles.
The
unless,
reason
unless it's Kirk
the
Cousins.
reason
Yeah,
I
maybe
put
unless
that
it's Kirk Cousins,
status
yeah.
up because I was driving home and I was listening to I follow and I listen to Bleeding Green Nation, who I think is great. And they have radio shows every Saturday, and so I was listening to the radio show from Saturday because I had nothing else to listen to in my car at the time, and they were taking in callers, and I swear to God, like I have never been so angry just listening to some of them ever since like back when I would listen to Mikey Miss and those idiots that would call.
Yeah.
Like, there were people saying that there was a guy literally saying that Carson Wentz is injury prone because he was injury prone in college and he missed the last 6 games of the season. We could have missed the playoffs if he hadn't gotten hurt. Therefore, Carson Wentz should. There's no guarantee
All right, so
Carson Wentz
listen,
should
It's
be
a
your
wrist injury,
starter.
it's a rib injury, and it's a knee injury. So I don't know. They're not even remotely related. But anyway.
But
No.
he wanted his point was he would rather ride with put more faith into Nick Foles than Carson Wentz. But
That's
if you want to look
crazy.
hold on. If you want to look at Foles, let's look at Foles' injury
I don't
history.
think it's crazy to put a little bit of an injury caution on Carson, but not to the level where you're saying, I'm
He's
putting my
injury-prone.
chips behind Nick Foles.
To your point, this is how I would label him. I would label him as not injury prone,
Mhm.
but he is the style of quarterback that brings injury into play.
Yeah.
That's the
Because
way
of-
to
yeah.
word it. You can't say, oh,
I would agree with that.
you know,
Yeah.
Carson Wentz is injury prone because the injury rate in the NFL is 100%.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
literally why they play the NFL. Like that can happen at any
Everyone
moment.
is injury.
Exactly,
Right.
because
I was gonna
everyone's
say,
going through a freaking
Aaron-
car accident.
There's been Aaron Rodgers has been missed significant parts of 2 different seasons. I mean, it
Yeah.
happens. Like Brady missed a season. He tore an ACL before. I mean, it happens, man.
People-
Or like a guy, I think what you're saying, like similarly, someone like a Cam Newton,
Yeah.
who Cam Newton's probably never going to be healthy his entire career just because of the way he plays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm surprised he hasn't had a season-ending injury already.
Cam, yeah.
And I think it was last week. I think Carson finally confirmed in an interview the exact point where he got hurt, which was on the contact in the leg when he did the dive, I believe.
I thought when he got interviewed, he said he wasn't even sure if it was the contact.
That was what
or
they
the-
said, but then there was another interview he gave last week because I was listening to the
Okay.
talk about it where he confirmed it was on contact.
Yeah.
So I guess when he took the shot in the side on the dive,
Possibly. If
I
you
don't
look
know,
at the
normally
replay,
it's
it
torn-
looks like he
didn't
got
look
contact.
that bad, but that's the only spot that I saw. 'Cause
Got
I ran it
contact,
back
yeah.
a few plays
Yeah.
to see where he had taken contact in that area.
I mean, I guess it's. I mean, it could. I mean, it could be a combination of both. He might have done the ACL from the dive, and then when they
Yeah.
got hit, the LCL
LCL
got
hit it.
Could be.
got knocked on stage. I mean, who knows? It's really like impossible to know for sure.
I can't. And there are numerous callers. I'm sorry, I'm going back to this. There's numerous callers saying that they would rather ride with Foles over Wentz. Like,
Well, that's why A2D
my
is.
God.
I was gonna
That's why
say,
A2D
drives
is
read
the
our
best.
comments, and I
nuts.
guarantee you, all the people that are listening
Gosh.
right now are not saying that.
It's
That's
just-
why A2D is the
maddening.
best in the business.
Yes.
Okay, guys, because we have wonderful family that has family talk with us.
And
Okay, we don't worry about that.
I will say
nonsense.
this because it was John Barchard, Brendan Lee Gowan, and Trey Thomas.
Yeah.
And Trey Thomas was living it up. He was hilarious because while John Barchard and Brandon were like, "Oh my God, can we please stop?" Trey Thomas was like, "Yes, bring it on. This is what the Super Bowl gets you. Everyone is a top 10 player.
I know.
Everyone on the roster is
It's
top
so
10."
true,
I
though.
was
It is
cracking
true.
up.
It is
I was
true.
cracking up. A Super Bowl win, and then Philly fans already think that every player on our team is a top 10 player.
It
in the
is
league.
true. Let's get back to YouTube.
Yeah. So we had Todd again say, if we can't bring back Bradham, which I hope we do, but if not, we should bring in Brian Cushing, who we have had good luck with Texans LBs. Foolish Demon responds, says Brian Cushing can't fit the scheme, and then he also says I want Paul Richardson, and says Jason Kelsey is going to be in the Hall. I know it.
Paul, so Cushing first. Too many injuries, too many suspensions. He's suspended
Yeah.
twice for PEDs. He's 30 years old,
And not a
coming
scheme
off
fit.
an injury,
Not a scheme fit.
and he's not a great scheme
Yeah,
fit.
not a great-
So no, I'd say no. If you're gonna look, I saw Jarrell Freeman got released. If you're
Yeah.
gonna, I would say
Yeah.
Jarrell Freeman. I'd be way more interested in than Cushing. As far as Richardson goes, I think Richardson's going to be out of their market. Richardson's going to go.
He's going to get.
He actually is coming off. I think he had over 700 yards this year. He's going to
He's
get paid a little bit.
He's flashed plays throughout
Yeah.
the whole season. This past season,
He's very good at
Yeah.
contested catches. I think he's going to get some money somewhere.
definitely will. Foolish Demon also says thoughts on 3 more All-Pro seasons will get him into the Ring of Honor. I think he's talking about Kelsey.
Yeah.
TTP Bond says, "What's up? Foolish if Kelsey gets
TTP.
numbers retired. I say we hang his Mummers Parade outfit in the rafters along with it. What you think?"
Yes.
Done.
I like that.
Done.
I
love it.
really like that.
I would love to see them put it on a statue, not a statue.
I
like
hear
a
what you're saying.
mannequin,
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
That would be-
and display it somewhere
Yeah.
in the stadium, though. That would be cool.
That would be really
That's something
cool.
that's probably
That's
there
a
has to be
possibility.
someone smart who already figured that out.
Yeah.
There has to be.
Yeah.
If not, then
and if not, guys,
kudos to you.
listen to A2D. I'm telling you, man. I'm a marketing
Yeah.
genius.
Because that is, I think that definitely belongs somewhere at the link, encased in glass.
It's just
Yes.
endearing. A, it's endearing to the moment, and B, it's endearing to the city of Philadelphia.
Yes.
An old tradition, paying homage to that.
Yeah.
Homage to it. So
That
mean,
is-
with it.
that it is a symbol now. It was
If-
already a symbol. Now it's a.
The mayor
Hey,
of
if
Unbelievable.
the Liberty Bell is encased and on display, the outfit should be. I mean,
absolutely, right? That's on par with it.
it's on par, by far. Foolish Demon says, "I would bring Peters back. If not, I would like to see us get a tackle. But I also believe in Big V. I think he can only get better, though." We were kind of already addressed our opinions on that. Not necessarily that I agree, but I mean, people believing in Big V, it's just hard to agree with that for me. Marcos Levy says Big V is a good run blocker, but he needs to improve pass blocking. I think Peters will be ready for the next season.
That's Big V's biggest issue is that he's so big that people like smaller pass rushers get leverage on him, and he doesn't know how to combat it a lot of times. That's why he did so well against Griffin, because Griffin's a longer, taller player, so it was a really good matchup for him. That's why, it's a cliche, but it's so true. Football is all about matchups. Obviously, Everson Griffin at this stage in his career is a much better player than James Harrison.
Yeah.
But James Harrison game, it gives Big V a harder time.
Yes.
It was a harder matchup for Big V.
TTP Ballin says Big V is the definition of solid. Average with flashes of above average. Wouldn't be mad if he was the starter next year, but can't say I wouldn't mind better. There's a lot of people saying what's up. That's what I love about my YouTube people. They're all like, it's a family, man. They all say what's up to everyone. SJM86 says Big V equals Todd Harriman's. I don't think I disrespect Todd Harriman's like that, because there were seasons where Todd Harriman's was really good.
And he played right tackle and right guard. Yeah, he was a good football. He played everywhere. He played left tackle and left guard too, I think.
He also says he would take a flyer on John Brown. Foolish Demons, he already said Paul Richardson for him.
Yeah.
SJM86 comes back and says we could draft Lamar Jackson and convert him to wide receiver.
Nice.
He's electric.
Lamar's going to be a quarterback, despite what Bill Polian says. Bill Polian was all about the hot takes this week, man. I like Bill Polian, but he was sizzling this week.
He has the pedigree, but I mean, some of the things he says, I can't say I agree with. I mean, he's not worse than Charlie Cashley. Sorry, Cashley to me is just off the wagon sometimes with what he says. The only thing I think I've ever agreed with him is when he took Mario,
Mario Williams over Reggie Bush.
But I mean, Polian, I don't know.
What do you got for us, Ryan?
So I'm reading here, just saw a headline on CBS Philly, and the title is Orthopedic Surgeon says that the Carson Wentz injury is, quote, worrisome.
Oh, yeah, I read I read the article already. They're just saying that he's probably going to have to play with a brace, which is fine.
They said he's probably going to have to play with a brace for the rest
of
his career.
Yeah, that's fine. And I mean, who cares?
There's guys who play with braces. It's not, people freak. It's almost like they were looking for, like, hey, what can we do to freak people the hell out?
They got me.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine. I get it. I get it.
Tom Brady's been playing with a brace since he jacked his knee up.
He's got knees. I think he's got him on both knees.
He might.
Well, doesn't Roethlisberger as well?
Roethlisberger, I think,
I mean, he's like a freaking. I mean,
well, he's like bionic. He's like.
I mean, this is a different position, but freaking Gronkowski has like a metal arm.
I know.
So I mean, good lord.
Yeah. That's one of those things. Like, I wouldn't worry about it until you have to worry about it. Type of things.
So,
Renee, can we not? Going back to the whole Big V thing, because Deion Brown says Big V will make a name for himself, but I'd like to see another pure left tackle at some point during this draft. Let's not count out the fact that Lane Johnson could now get moved over now that it's a fresh season.
Good point.
It's fair.
That is a very good point.
But my thing is this, though, too. So in this day and age in the NFL, it used to always be, okay, you wanted your best tackle on the left side because you want to block for your – and you want to block for your quarterback's blind side.
Yes.
But now most teams line their Eagles included put their best edge rusher against the right tackle.
Right.
Think about all the guys Lane Johnson had to play. Like get Von Miller. Like he faced the best defensive end, the best pass rusher on the other team every week on the right side.
Right.
So anymore, I would say it kind of it's. I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it kind of doesn't. Like it's kind of not as big of a deal as it used to be.
I think it also depends.
You need two good tackles.
I think it depends if they draft someone, how they fit. If whoever they bring in, if they draft someone, if they favor one side, I think you'll see Lane
and that's what it is
move to the other one.
It's a comfort thing.
Yeah, it's a
and
comfort
I
thing.
think that was with Big V. The reason, that it wasn't so much that they were afraid to move Lane; it's that they were afraid to move. Big V had been so comfortable on the left side.
Exactly.
They wanted to leave him out there, and I get that. That was obviously it was the right move. Clearly, they won a friggin' Super Bowl, so obviously it was the right move.
The only thing I would say to that is, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So like Lane has been so locked down on the right side.
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
Why open it up to having not only a left tackle, and it might not even be an issue. Like we're going under the notion that if there's a problem with the left tackle position, like right now we have options. So my whole point is, why open up ourselves to have not only a left tackle problem but a right tackle problem. Just if it's not broken, don't fix
I
it.
think the
This line
difference-
won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think the difference between saying that, because I agreed with you, me and Tom, and a lot of us, we were saying that over and over months ago when Peters went down. We were talking about Big V moving, but I think the difference between saying it back then and saying it now is that right now, if you needed to move Lane, you could do it in the offseason because he'll have the whole training camp.
if
and
you were
everything.
going to do it,
If you're going to do
now
it,
would be the time.
he's the type of guy who can play on either side. So if you're going to do it, you could do it now. But I lean towards your what you're saying. Like, keep him at the right side. I think it works.
When you were giving me the 10 there,
Yeah.
I had the Billy Bob from Varsity Blues in my head. A tan, a tan,
Tan.
an effing tan.
I was doing Dillinger.
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
So Renee, real quick, chimed in. She got on the chat on YouTube, and it's funny how I was just saying like they're all family there.
Hey, Renee.
Foolish Demon says the OG squad, day one ninjas. SJM says regulators mount up, and they're just saying how Foolish Demon says Bird Gang, we out here, and they're saying how there's just they're always on the chat. So it's always good to see those our YouTube people on the chat and them talking it up all the time each show. We appreciate you guys. We say it every week. I feel like we say it every show, every week, but we really, really do appreciate you guys.
Is this what I
tuning in.
think it is?
Every week, same time.
David Rosca?
No,
Oh, no. Go ahead.
we have Sweeps, our neighborhood
Sweeps.
sweeps, chiming in.
Yeah, the text message.
Yes.
Let's go.
Communicating through me as usual. Hello, Sweeps. How are you? He says, hello, friend. We meet again. Great show, boys. And for me, the poll question is Graham all day. Of course, Birds were a team all year. But if you didn't think the Birds were going to lose 39-38 with 2:27 left and Brady doing anything he wanted in the second half, you're half crazy. Birds needed one play, and Graham made it. And that play should live in
Absolutely.
infamy. Go Cards, let's effing go.
Go Cards, my man. Spring training right around the corner.
I don't know if I support the last part,
I
but
don't-
a lot of what he said, I
I
agree.
clearly do not.
STL Cardinal Nation, baby. Let's go. Now, I watched actually one of the mic'd up segments today, too, where it was all Doug. So it was all Doug's mic'd up through the whole game.
Okay.
And before that Brandon Graham play where he ended up strip sacking Tom Brady, he's on the sideline saying to Brandon Graham, keep getting it 12. Keep getting it 12.
Yeah.
He's going to throw the ball to us. Keep getting it 12. Keep getting it 12. And then, ironically enough, Brandon Graham's the one that goes out and gets the strip sack.
Nice.
That's what he said. Just keep hitting him. Keep
I
getting
like
it
it.
12. That's why I love Doug. Fuck, I love Doug so much.
Love Doug.
I don't know.
God.
You can't love Doug.
I am so I said this to Charles the day, and you because you were in the chat, the day that they signed him, I trashed the shit out of that signing.
A lot of us did.
But I said the best thing that can happen was for them to give me a bowl of shit and have me eat it and say it tastes good, and it tastes damn good. I was never so happy to eat that.
You weren't the only one. We all were. There was nothing to give us.
Hey, at least you weren't
Feel
Mike
confidence
Lombardi.
Yeah.
Oh.
At least we weren't that.
Oh.
At least he wasn't that.
Greg chimed in. Greg Malakovic. He says, "What's up, fellas? Sorry I'm late. Tough to pick just one. Kelsey is now a folk hero, but I'll go with Brandon Graham. Dude made the biggest play ever at the biggest moment. Can never take that away from him. Great point." A2D Radio chimes in and says, "Legacy in Philly. Kelsey, outside Philly, Ertz, catch, no catch. Babies will be bitching about that for years." James Wilder liked that comment, too.
James.
What's up, James? James is my friend on Facebook now.
Yeah, he requested
He
me
added
too.
me today on
And what-
Facebook.
can I-
He's like, yeah, nice.
Can I also say that I appreciate James because last week the day after we had the big debate, and then it was posted. We had the whole conversation on the Facebook page. James, I appreciate James's work because James understood the question, which was what I was arguing about. James understood the question about you're talking about in their prime seasons, and he broke out the numbers for each when you're talking about their best season. That's not something Tom ever did in the debate. He didn't bring up the prime seasons. James did. So James, you are the man. Okay, we might have in
I
the
am
end.
not getting in this
We might have
debate
in the
again.
end
I've already
disagreed
done.
because he went with McCoy
I've
still.
buried
But I
all of
appreciate
this
the work.
deep down.
I appreciate the work and understanding the question and understanding exactly what the question is asking. So James did good work there.
Thank you, James.
He's the man, James.
We're going to move on to Deion Brown now because I'm not getting into that argument.
Yeah, nope, not
Deion
touching that
said-
one.
You know, I just
I've
wanted to
moved
give him
on
a
with my
shout
life.
out. I just wanted to give him a shout out.
Nah, James is our boy, dude. Deion says sweeps. Can't speak for everyone else. The game, quote, could have been over if he got to Brady a centimeter of a second before the throw it up pass.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Put pressure on him then, too. So, where we at, Ryan?
You know what's
I don't even
funny
know
is
where
too, like,
We're
if you
here.
look
I
at
lost my time.
That's all right. We're here.
if you look,
we out here, yeah.
Yeah,
we
we
out
here.
here.
a lot
Yeah,
of people said that they didn't get pressure on Brady in the first half. They did.
They did.
They did in the first half. It was the
Oh,
second half when they started really going to Gronk.
Yeah.
They figured something out, and it was not pretty in the second half.
Yeah. There was no.
But the first half, they got pressure on them. They got Harry's.
James said, hey, don't bring me into this, T. McCoy. Deion
Just
says-
giving you love, James. Just giving you love.
Deion says, no disrespect to Sweep's opinion, though. I just beg to differ. Eddie Rush, what up, buddy? Says, love the show, boys. Me and the homies watching from Jacksonville. Shout out to Jacksonville.
Hey!
Jacksonville.
Shout out to Jacksonville.
That I think I was telling you this last week. That's like my favorite thing to do now. Is like, like I say it a part of the show. Like, where do you guys watch?
Oh, I
from?
love
See,
it,
like,
yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, you're from. here?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I love
That's
when
really
people
cool.
chime in. All right, now, Eddie, are you guys like, are you Eagles fans? Are you Jacksonville Jaguars fans? Who are you guys fans of? We're
We could talk some Jags.
Yeah, I mean, we talk.
Jaguars?
We love the Jags.
love talking
potential
Jags.
over here. We've been talking Jags every
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
I love
mean-
Leonard Fournette. I love Jalen Ramsey.
Yep.
I think
AJ
that.
Bouye.
Jalen Ramsey is such a prick, but I fucking love him for it.
Well,
So the
because-
rumor-
and
I love
that's
it. I
because
don't
you
care.
have to be.
Yeah, I
that
love
person.
it. That's why I love
Have
it.
to be.
He
He's
says
got the
they're all, he
perfect-
says they're all from Philly. So I
Oh,
love
nice.
it.
Love it.
Little Jacksonville representation from Philly down
Nice.
there.
Love
I'm
it.
loving it.
Nice.
Listen, I hope that there's no truth to Kirk Cousins possibly going to the Jets. I want him to go to Jacksonville.
Dude,
That's what I
I've been
said.
saying all along.
Bring him to
I want
Jacksonville.
him to Jacksonville,
They will
man.
run
If
over
he
the
goes-
AFC.
If
I'm
he
telling
goes
you.
to Jacksonville, I'm telling you right now, they are going to be the legacy, or they are going to be the next powerhouse.
In the AFC.
Year in and year
Exactly.
out, over New England every year for the next at
They made
least
it to the
5
AFC
years.
Championship game with Blake Bortles limiting that offense.
I feel like
it's
people
so
don't.
good of a roster.
I feel like people don't understand how good of a quarterback Kirk Cousins actually is because he's been on such a shitty
If he's
team.
on, if you put him on that team, and let's say they bring Allen Robinson back, and they have that running game and that defense,
And then you add a tight end.
I was gonna say, then they probably draft a
what
tight
if-
end.
Or
Who
what
will
if they
be there.
What if they sign Trey Burton?
They could sign Trey Burton.
What if they do that?
Although
Yeah,
I don't know
Kirk
if they
Cousins
sign Cousins, they might not have.
Oh yeah, okay. You're
And
true,
and
you're
they
right.
and if they franchise A Rob or if they re-sign A Rob, they're probably not
money,
gonna have the money.
not
but
have the money, but
I
but they
hope-
could easily draft
Oh
a
my
first-round tight
gosh.
end.
Yeah,
I
they
saw
could.
they picked up Mercedes Lewis's option, so he's definitely
okay, so
coming back.
he's going to be back. There.
Marcos.
but, yeah.
Marcos says they did put pressure. There was a hit that on Brady took him to get up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened more than once.
Chris-
He got hit
the
pretty
Chris
good.
Lyons, who dropped in the A2D comment earlier, also dropped the same one under his name.
Oh, okay.
My man. Eddie jumps back in and he says, we got a couple Eagles bars down here, so we watch our boys.
That's awesome.
I keep saying
Nice.
Cousins to Jax, though if they want to spend some money, I agree. I think that would be an amazing spot for him to land. I'd watch every Jacksonville game I
Oh,
could
man.
just
They'd
to
be a
watch
fun
how
team.
good they would be.
They would
Yeah.
be a fun.
They're
I mean,
already
they
a
were-
fun team.
I was gonna say they
They're
already are a fun team.
I love watching
Yeah.
them, despite
But
Blake
you
Bortles.
add Kirk Cousins in there, that's a really fun team.
And Deion says, I see Kirk going to Denver and Mr. Elway drafting Josh Allen.
Could happen too.
Chris Lyons says, LOL, caught me. Period. Fuck.
Love it.
All right, guys, we're going to take a 5-minute break, so don't go anywhere. We're just
Second
gonna
half's
take
gonna be fun.
quick 5-minute break. Second half, we'll come back. We're going to run down the list of quarterbacks. Who do you take Foles over? We'll find out. That, much more. Remember to hit the poll question. First half brought to us by Gibson Mayer, Gibson Mayer LLC. Thank you, Gibson Mayer, our certified public accountant. Make them yours. Poll question from Scanzano Sports. We're at scanzanosports.com, live from the BMW of Atlantic City Studios. This is Birds of a Feather. 5 minutes, guys. We'll see you on the other side. guys, welcome back. Birds of a Feather live here on A2DRadio.com. Live from the BMW of Atlantic City Studios, BMW of AtlanticCity.com. Second half of the show brought to us by StreamSmart, StreamSmart.com. Our poll question, which we touched on the first half, we're going to continue to talk about, brought to us by Scanzano Sports, ScanzanoSports.com. Which player who was active during the Super Bowl will leave the biggest legacy? Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Jason Kelsey, Zach Ertz. Anybody else that you guys think might be an interesting name? We threw a few out there. Chris Long, a couple other guys we had thrown in. Comment, YouTube, Facebook. We're all over the place, guys. It's A2DRadio.com.
So we do.
That's right. We had a couple nice comments here on the break. I'm going to go right into Facebook. Let's catch back up on that. Dion Brown says, I want Trey back in the fold. But I understand it's a business. You can't keep everyone, but the Eagles like Billy Brown. He also said, hashtag beer run break for our 5-minute break there.
I wish. Beer sounds good right about now.
It does sound good. Tom Arnone says Jason Kelsey, the speech. Eddie Rush said, real question is, are y'all going to come take that trip down to Tampa next season because the Florida Eagles chapter is going to go strong and have almost 20 people signed up to go.
That's so awesome.
It is something that we may have a conversation about. So, we'll keep you posted, Eddie.
No, go ahead.
The A2D team may run down there strong. We'll see how
We'll
it
take the
works
yellows.
out. But he says
Yellow ones I can't
he
do.
then jumps in
I'm
and
out.
says, so we eat gummies here, guys. This is what we
Sorry.
do. This is like our pre-show
It's now our
ritual.
tradition.
The yellow, I'm out on the yellow lifesaver.
I didn't have my
gummies.
Smurf
I'm out.
gummies today, unfortunately. Eddie Rush then jumps in, then continues on, and he says, to answer your question to the poll question, he said it should be Big V. He showed up when no one thought he would. That goes for the game and for pretty much all season. I don't know about all season. Playoff-wise, he stepped up pretty well when we needed him to.
Agreed.
Real quick, before we get into Ryan Singh, on YouTube, they're having a big discussion about, I think it was Foolish Demon, who was talking to one of his friends, and they were having a discussion about, Deshaun Watson and Wentz. His friend said that Deshaun Watson will be better than Wentz, and Wentz will be in trouble because of his injury. And then it started to get into a bigger debate, and then now everyone's just talking about it, comparing the two. But where do you guys stand? I mean, I'm pretty sure. I think that Wentz, and as objective as I can be, I think Wentz does have a higher ceiling than Watson. I think he's a better pure passer, better intangibly in terms of reading the field. I can't say enough about Wentz's off the field stuff, his work habits, and everything like that. But if I were to pick a number 2 young quarterback for the future, I think Watson is right.
I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if in like 5 years they are like 1A and 1B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're both that good, that special.
Yeah,
both of them.
Yeah, Watson just
It's so hard to tell if they're half a season for Watson and after a year and like 3 quarters for Wentz. It's so hard to tell.
it's hard to tell.
It's so hard to know
Yeah,
right now.
I think what impresses me so much about Watson is, one, his clutch. He's just so clutch. In big moments, he comes up big.
Absolutely.
He's an absolute winner, and that mantra.
A winner with talent, unlike Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
Because that's what
That
everyone. Sorry.
mantra,
That was
that-
the argument.
That
with
whole
Tebow,
mantra
so.
when he was coming out of the draft, I think you can speak more to it, because I think last year's draft, I didn't scout the quarterbacks as much, so you can speak more to it. But I don't think that he had the best workouts out of when he came to Kaiser and everything. So I think people were really, his physical traits didn't pop out, so they kind of hurt his draft stock.
The one thing that really it's kind of, I think this was measured. I want to say it was either the Senior Bowl or the Combine. They measured like the rotations on this football for like throws and like the miles per hour, and his was like some of the lowest. And it's like, I get it, but at the same time, I don't know. That's not making me not want to take a guy. Like I get why that could be important as far as throwing in tighter windows in the NFL. But if you're a good quarterback and you make good decisions, I mean, look at a guy like Chad Pennington. Chad Pennington had no arm whatsoever.
Yeah, no arm power whatsoever.
But he wound up being a pretty damn good quarterback.
Accurate as
just
hell,
because
yeah.
he was
When he was
accurate
healthy,
and he was
yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah, and he also had, to be fair about his arm, he did have a lot of shoulder problems too.
Yeah.
But my point is, a guy like that turned himself into a pretty damn decent NFL quarterback, and he had no arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's it's a lot more upstairs. And I think Watson and I think both of these guys have. When you say intangibles, both of these guys are off the charts with intangibles. Both great leaders, both great young guys, great human beings, great with their communities, and both work hard.
Yeah.
I think,
Watson's a real
both
deal.
teams are in really good shape with their quarterbacks of the future.
Tom says, "What's up, fam? What up, Tom?
What up, Tommy boy?"
Eddie says, to see what Wentz has done already, I think Watson would have to be number 2 next to him, although Watson can read the field so good. Dion says, is it fair to say Wentz has a higher season than McNabb did back in '99? I was 2 years removed from high school back then. Oh man, I was still in high school. I was a freshman in high school.
I was in grade school.
Me and you both. We were in high school together, bro.
Yeah. We were the same age. So that was actually, I think, when we were at the lunch table talking.
Yeah.
I think I totally am on board with you guys. I love Watson. I loved him when he got drafted. He's a super special, talented guy. I don't know that if I'm looking, I agree. I think Carson has a higher ceiling, and I feel like Carson's in a better position right now because of the talent that's been put around him. And I think that
DeAndre Hopkins.
I know.
Say he's got one of the best receivers in the NFL.
I understand.
No, but I do
with all due
agree that
respect, Alshon Jeffrey.
I'm looking at.
I think you're talking top to bottom.
I'm looking top to bottom, though.
You have a good point.
He has a guy named Zach Ertz. There's an ultimate safety blanket for him right now.
There was one rumor that one guy the Texans should target would be Jimmy Graham.
Ooh.
Which would be really interesting.
If the Seahawks don't franchise him, because they have to
put
choose
Jimmy
between
Graham. Put Jimmy Graham and DeAndre Hopkins on the field, and you have that kid at quarterback. That's
something special.
All of a sudden,
red zone, impossible to stop in the red zone.
Exactly.
You put
throw it up to one
side, one the other.
Which one?
Who you gonna call?
Exactly.
They're both gonna go up and get it.
Yeah.
But in fairness, you're looking at quarterbacks like we were talking Dak last year. Like to me now, the conversation's Deshaun and Carson Wentz. It's not Dak anymore.
I'm sorry, Dak's not even.
I never even put Dak.
He's not even.
To me,
if you really understood, and you looked at it, Dak always had.
Garoppolo is another guy who deserves to be thrown in that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We can't forget about Jimmy GQ.
I almost feel like I can't even comment because I love that kid so much that I feel like anything I say I should buy some. Because I just love Jimmy.
But he's a talented guy though, and I think to me, if I'm looking young quarterbacks. No disrespect to a Trubisky or any of these other young guys, not to say, or even Jared Goff. I don't think Goff is going to be on that level. Goff, to me, right now would be the highest of the second tier of young guys.
That's fair.
I'm looking at these.
That's
to
fair.
me, if I'm looking at the 3 top young quarterbacks in the league right now, no disrespect to Goff, I'm looking at Watson, Wentz,
I'm thinking
Jimmy GQ. And then next level, 4 through 5 or 6, that starts out with Goff.
Well, to your point.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was one guy I think could sneak into this conversation.
Mariota?
With better coaching and a better team, Mariota could sneak
into
this conversation.
I read it. I agree with you.
You could say no, but Mariota, he has shown he had before last year. He was very good the season before that. This season, he was in a very uncreative offense, not surrounded by enough playmakers.
That system, I'm telling you,
just
garbage.
Not a crazy believer in Mariota.
I understand you don't. I don't think you like Mariota at all. Honestly, the way you talk about
him. I don't dislike the guy.
No, I'm not saying you dislike him.
No, even as a player, I don't dislike him. I just don't think. I think that there was so much hype behind him and everything at Oregon and coming in. I don't think he's as good of a quarterback.
Well, there was so much hype because of
it was the Chip Kelly thing. Yeah,
we're in Philadelphia.
There was way more hype around Jameis.
Yeah, that's
nationally.
True.
Yeah.
Obviously, they made the right pick.
He's another guy, and I totally fell off my radar. I didn't even have him in my thoughts.
He's not even. Yeah, sorry.
You guys have heard me say this numerous times. The hype. The reason why I'm so much of a Mariota guy, and it's fallen off a little bit. I mean, he did not have a good season by any means, but he still got the team to the playoffs. That's what a lot.
Yeah, hey, listen.
Here's the thing.
He hero balled against the Chiefs too. Sorry.
Yes, and he put the team on his back, and he literally lowered a shoulder a couple times.
Yep.
As a guy who's been that you could say he's injury prone. By the way.
Same thing you said about Wentz. Yeah, is the way he plays the position
opens it up.
Yeah, it's just the way it's going to be. But yeah, he did. He hero balled the hell out of that game. They don't win that game
without Mariota.
You cannot take away the red zone efficiency that guy has.
Mm-hmm.
That's what keeps me with Mariota.
I'm going to wait and see thing with Mariota.
I want to see him new system, and I also want to see with a healthy Corey Davis.
See, like I'm looking
and I
at,
want to and with Derrick Henry as the lead back.
Yes.
I'm excited to see Derrick Henry. When I'm looking at this conversation, I'm looking at guys that, barring injury, like a massive injury, and we've already seen 2 of them have pretty devastating injuries, but can bounce back. Barring that, guys who in no question in my mind are at the top of that list.
No, I
Mariota,
think that's fair.
there's just too many question marks for me.
And I agree.
In fairness, I'd like to see him succeed.
Yeah.
I like the talent, like you talk about a Derrick Henry. I like some of the talent that they put around him there. I'd like to see.
Definitely, yeah.
And I would like to see somebody else step up and step in and have a run for a few years as far as a playoff spot, especially in the AFC.
And like I said, I think he's on the outside of that conversation looking in. I agree with you that out of like the surefire guys, Wentz, Watson,
Like
Garoppolo.
I would probably
after that, I don't know.
I'd probably put him at 6.
So you're saying
behind
Goff. So you're
Goff
saying
and who?
Goff's what, 4,
4.
and who's 5?
I don't know. Maybe I'd put him at 5.
I think you put him at 5.
Well, that's the thing. I'd put him at 5.
Yeah.
I'd put him after Goff.
Yeah, he's on the outside looking in.
To the point you made, Chrome, earlier about like how Dak versus Wentz really doesn't make much sense anymore. That's kind of outdated to where it's more like Watson versus Wentz, or even Garoppolo versus Watson and Wentz. It's like those 3.
Yeah.
I was going to say, just for the sake of draft, that Goff versus Wentz makes more sense. But, like, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, I think Goff is playing catch-up to guys like Wentz and Watson. Would an argument like Prescott versus Goff make more sense?
No, I think Goff's
Yeah.
I think Goff's much better.
Well, the only reason why I say that, and I agree, I think Goff is going to have a better career.
Mm-hmm.
Through 2 seasons, which they've both had, you've had, and I understand Goff's first season is a wash. I understand that. It's Jeff Fisher. That's literally what it is. You could say, okay, they both had one really good season. Where arguably you could say Dak actually had a better season 2 years ago than Goff had this past season, as far as efficiency numbers, all-time stuff. And then they had one to where, Goff's was disastrous and Prescott's was not disastrous but very disappointing. To where through 2 years, I'm not saying they're on the same wavelength, but they're close just going through 2 years.
I think that's fair. I think it's a very fair point. But my argument to that would be for Dak Prescott, my thing is I sort of think that he was figured out. I think team defenses realized, okay, without this run game, this guy essentially Charles, you know this.
Yep.
He's making one read, and if he doesn't have it, he's tucking and running or he's throwing it away.
It's true.
And whereas Goff, I think if anything, you got to see intellectually that he is just a better student of the game. He sees the field much better than Prescott. And you just saw it. And with McVay at the helm, I think he's only going to get better. Whereas the Prescott, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be better than he was last year.
Well,
he's certainly not. I don't think he'll ever be as good as he was his rookie year, which does happen to guys sometimes.
I will be fair, and I will say that because my knock on Dak has always been, okay, let's see you do it without Zeke. With that running game, can you carry an offense?
He clearly
and I will be fair and say, okay, like maybe we have to see the same from Goff. What can he do outside of a running game to show his true talents as a quarterback? But if you're just talking about how they, if you're breaking down in the passing game how they read the defenses and their passing ability, no question it's Goff.
Yeah.
No question.
Using your eyes.
Yeah,
using your eyes. I would say that if you're going off what you see, Jared Goff looks like he's going to be a much better. Is going to be
because
a much better quarterback than
when you're not talking about the running game, when you're not talking about coming off of play action, he's making multiple reads. He's throwing the ball down the field. He's aggressive. Unlike Dak, where
Goff was very aggressive. I was surprised
Goff
how
was very
aggressive he was
aggressive
this year.
Very aggressive. And I think if they bring back Sammy Watkins, which is a question mark because his contract is up, if they bring him back, I can see them working on their chemistry more because
they got him late.
I said I said it before. It's not an issue with talent when it comes to Sammy. He gets open still. He still has monster speed. It's an issue with chemistry and just timing on those deep routes with Goff, which just wasn't there. But within full offseason, that could get so much better.
I don't. Forgive me because I'm about to just. This is probably not going to make any sense. But there was an article about the free agent receivers and some of the guys, and Watkins was obviously on the list. And one of the things they said is that actually, if you look at Goff's like advanced stats throwing the football to Sammy Watkins, is like it was actually incredibly like his quarterback rating was ridiculous throwing to Watkins deep down the field. So I mean, as much as like you're saying, they still need to develop that. It already was a positive this season. So like you said, they have a chance to build on that. So if they bring him back, that who knows? Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Bring up that list. We'll get into that in a second. Marcos says, I always compare Dak with Alex Smith. Dion says,
it's not crazy.
It is not. It's not crazy. And I don't want to. I still think Dak is a good quarterback. And I will say, I know a lot of people on here. He's a starting quarterback. But a lot of people will say, like, oh, Dak is trash. I'm not going to go that far. I think Dak is a good quarterback. He does make big plays in big moments from time to time. We can't take away what he did in the playoffs.
It's a gut check year for him this year.
It's a big year for him.
We've seen the great year. We've seen the not-so-great year. Now it's gut check. Let's see where the real Dak
No excuses. Zeke should be there for all 16 games.
He has to develop as a passer. He's got to learn how to see the field better and not tuck and run so much.
So, go ahead.
I was going to say the one thing on your point, Charles. If he doesn't tighten the screws a little bit, he's going to get himself hurt.
Yeah.
Like, big time. Like, 'cause we saw he had the hand issue numerous times. I mean, he was beat up a lot.
How many times did he fumble the ball in the pocket? So many times. That's one of his things. He might not have thrown, like, a lot of interceptions his rookie year, but if you talk about his rookie year and this past season, one of the big knocks on him is him holding on to the ball. He can't hold on to the ball. There's so many times where he's fumbled it because his pocket awareness is not there.
And that's with a great offensive line, too.
Yes.
Dion says Jimmy G, Wentz, Watson, and look out for the kid backing up Big Ben from Tennessee. I can't place his name right now.
Josh Dobbs?
Thanks to the IPAs.
No.
He's drinking a few IPAs right now.
Yeah.
Must be a family friend.
But I like him, Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota, the future of the quarterback position. Dak, he came in with a team around him. Goff is also on my list. And he says, what's the panel's thoughts on the kid from Kansas City, Patrick? Wait and see, right?
Patrick Mahomes, but I do love Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, oh, my God. How can we not forget about that?
It's because he's only played one game, so it's hard to get. But it's his job this year, man. I am excited to watch Patrick Mahomes. This kid, that kid, man, his arm to throw. Talk about a guy with like every physical tool imaginable.
Yeah.
Like, he can make any throw, and he's got a laser arm, dude. I'm pumped to watch him.
The future of the quarterback position is so good in the NFL right now.
It's funny because it wasn't looking good for a little bit there, but now it's
done.
It's looking a lot. It's looking like a lot of fun right now for a lot of these guys.
So Ryan's going to run down the list of all 31 other teams aside from ours. And we already know Carson. We're taking Carson over Foles. So. He's going to go through
unless
the list.
Unless you're Bill Polian.
Yeah, unless you're Bill Polian. He's going to go through the list, and we're going to figure it out.
So basically, to your point, Chrome, I'll run through all of the quarterback situations, and we'll basically say Nick Foles or whoever, basically. Who'd you rather, Nick Foles or whoever I say? Keep track, by the way, if you want. I'll be keeping track because we'll tally where exactly we have him ranked. And obviously, the chat at home, please play along as well.
I got a Word document up. So
I was going to say, I don't have paper. So.
All right, Charles, you keep track.
Okay, all right.
All right, so we will
start. What am I keeping track of? Like, we're going to go
basically every time
write a team,
Yes, every time you say you'd rather have someone instead of Nick Foles,
so put him below
write a check.
Or above.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just putting tally. So every time I say, like, Tom Brady over Nick Foles, I'll put a check.
I'll rank them. I'll go with each name and then I'll
whatever you want. I'm just going checks.
Okay, go.
So we'll start out in the AFC East. Tom Brady or Nick Foles?
Tom Brady.
Really?
Jay,
we got to go through all the teams,
I know. It's just I know.
Tyrod Taylor or Nick Foles?
Nick Foles.
I agree. I guess just we'll go Jay Cutler or Nick Foles.
Or even Ryan Tannehill.
Yes, the entire Dolphin situation.
Either way.
Yes.
I take Foles over either of them.
I like Tannehill, but he's not. I don't think he's ever going to hit the potential.
Twice torn, man. That's scary.
So that's two, right? That's two.
Two what?
Two quarterbacks we pick.
Two teams we take.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Two teams.
Is that what you want me to keep?
Just keep how many you say yes to.
Yes.
I'm counting
over Nick Foles.
I'm counting.
Thank you, Chrome. Thank you, Chrome.
All right.
The Jets quarterback situation.
Yes, Nick Foles.
Nick Foles, unless it's
Kirk Cousins, then I take Kirk Cousins. Yeah, I agree with that.
Patrick Mahomes or Nick Foles?
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes, yeah.
I don't know. I would go Nick Foles at the moment.
I'd
Philip
take
Rivers or Nick
Oh,
Foles.
Rivers.
Philip Rivers.
I agree. Derek Carr or Nick Foles.
Derek Carr.
Agreed.
Derek Carr's another guy we kind of forget about in that list too.
I didn't forget about him. He's just not there.
I did.
he's
I
not
personally
that. He's
forgot
not
about
that
him.
high. But
He had a
he's
rough
like
year.
level, yeah.
He had a really good year.
No,
before
I do
that.
like him though.
I might put him over Mariota.
That's a tough call.
I
The
wouldn't.
Broncos quarterback situation.
Nick
or Nick
Foles.
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 Agreed. Let's move over
Unless
to
they sign Kirk Cousins.
Yes. Let's move over to the AFC North. Let's go Ben Roethlisberger or Nick Foles.
Ben.
Ben.
Let's see here. Joe Flacco or Nick Foles.
Nick Foles.
See, that's
Wow, that's
on.
sticky for me.
I'll go
That's
Nick.
sticky for me. That's
I'm gonna
tough.
go Foles. I'm gonna go Foles because Flacco hasn't shown me
Man.
anything.
You know what? I was gonna say off of recent years, and also
Yeah.
Flacco's dealing with injury stuff with his back and everything.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
go Foles too.
Andy Dalton or Nick Foles.
Nick Foles.
Foles.
Because Andy Dalton stinks.
And the
My
Cle-
ginger brother, though.
the Cleveland Browns or Nick Foles.
Nick Foles.
Deshaun Kaiser.
I
No,
can actually see
I
people
know,
saying
I
that.
totally- Or what's,
Um,
God, what's the terrible kid? Oh my God, the kid from USC who's not good.
Hogan.
No, not Hogan. Hogan's from Stanford. I can't even think of his name. And oh my God.
Oh, that's just Nick Foles.
Nick Foles. I know. I was trying to have
Nick
fun,
Foles, Nick Foles,
but I
Nick Foles.
ruined it. I'm sorry.
This is actually interesting. Blake Bortles or Nick Foles.
Nick Foles.
All right, it's not interesting.
It's not interesting at all.
Marcus Mariota or Nick Foles.
Marcus
Mariota.
Mariota.
I agree.
Yeah,
Chrome.
You gotta say Mariota.
Andrew Luck or Nick Foles.
Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck.
Healthy Andrew Luck.
Andrew
Well, that
Luck-
we don't know though. We'll talk.
Andrew Luck did say that he is throwing, and he is not. He does not plan to get a second surgery.
Then I would
just
say
putting that
Andrew
out
Luck.
there.
But if
Andrew
we
Luck.
have, like, questionable Andrew Luck, I might go Nick Foles.
They also have Jacoby Brissett, so I would take Andrew Luck and Jacoby Brissett over just Nick Foles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
that's
Okay.
fair.
That's fair.
Wait, Foles and Brissett?
No.
He would
Luck
take
and
either
Brissett.
or.
Like if I have Luck and Brissett, I would take that over having
yeah,
just
yeah,
Foles.
yeah. Okay, all right.
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun
Oh,
Watson.
Deshaun Watson.
We just got done talking about it.
Yep. Let's move over to the NFC. Let's go to the NFC West. Jared Goff or Nick Foles.
Jared
Goff.
Jared Goff.
Agreed. Russell Wilson or Nick Foles.
Russell Wilson.
Agreed.
Russell.
See, this is going to get a lot more
Yeah.
non-Nick Foles because we're in the better
So
conference.
essentially,
Yeah.
Right.
what we're getting is an AFC destination would be great for
Yeah,
him
Nick
right now.
Foles.
Makes
Yeah,
a lot of
seriously.
Well,
Plus, we
hence
don't
why
have to face him.
Well, hence why a lot of the possible teams for like Cousins and Foles to go to is
Yeah.
the AFC.
See, yeah.
Right.
Just the Cardinals quarterback situation.
Nick
for
Foles.
Blaine Gabbert.
Nick Foles.
Nick
Nick
Foles.
Yeah,
Drew
Nick Foles.
Stanton.
True statement.
Matt Barkley.
Matty.
I'll call him this just for you, Paul. Jimmy GQ.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jimmy
Jimmy
GQ all
GQ.
day.
All
I'm sorry,
day.
Nick, but just the way it goes. The Vikings quarterback situation. So we can actually, I'll go through each. Let's go Teddy Bridgewater or Nick Foles.
Nick Foles. I'm going to say Nick Foles for all three.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we saying
Yeah.
Nick Foles for all three?
Absolutely.
I would take
Okay.
Nick Foles over all three, right? Especially caveat with John DiFilippo as the offensive coordinator.
Very true.
Absolutely.
It's a
I'm
great
taking Nick
landing
Foles.
spot for him.
Yeah.
I don't think they do it though. Because
I had to look at it.
They already got burned once
Yeah.
on a quarterback trade.
Yeah.
with the
Matt
Eagles.
Stafford or Nick Foles.
Matt Stafford.
Agreed. Okay. Aaron Rodgers or Nick Foles.
Yeah,
1, 2,
Aaron
3.
Rodgers.
Trubisky.
Mitchell Trubisky or Nick Foles. See, this I had an
That
argument
one's
with
tough.
somebody a couple weeks ago about this.
I'm actually going to go with Mitch Trubisky.
I'm going to go
Yeah, I'm going to go
but I had
Trubisky
to
too,
think
just
about it.
because at this
Youth.
stage, keep him.
I want to
keep
see
his
what he
growth
is.
going.
I want to see
Yeah.
what he is.
Brinkman was like ripping me when I said that, and I said, well, he's kind of like Trubisky doesn't have anybody right now. Like
Right.
that, you wouldn't have said
He
Carson
doesn't.
Wentz the
Anyone.
first year, like because he doesn't have anybody.
He's going to have
There's
Calvin
Jordan
Ridley.
Howard and Cohen as
Yeah,
his
Tyreek
best
Cohen.
weapons who are running backs. Sorry.
and an offensive-minded head coach finally.
Yes.
All right, Drew Brees or Nick Foles.
Drew Brees.
Agreed. Cam Newton or Nick
Cam
Foles.
Newton.
Nick Foles. Just kidding.
Cam Newton.
Kidding. I'm not going to hate on Cam that bad.
Matt Ryan or Nick Foles.
Matt
Ryan.
Jameis Winston or Nick Foles.
That's
This-
a tough one.
This is the closest one so far.
Yeah, this is really tough, actually.
You know what?
I would actually say, as they are now, built with the weapons, I might go Nick Foles on this.
Yeah.
Because Nick Foles is more of a short-term solution And I think they could have a better chance at winning right now.
See,
I think the organization likes Winston, though.
I was going to say, so if I'm looking at it like this, if I look at it from this perspective, if I'm the organization and either I can ride it out with Jameis for another year or I can trade for Nick Foles, I'm keeping Jameis.
Yeah.
Because I still think there's talent there, even though he's not been very good. I still think there's something there that someone's got to get the hell out of him. So I still think there's something there. So I'm going to say Jameis.
He needs serious stability in that organization.
Yes.
I don't think they have it.
No, I don't think Cutter's a very good coach.
No.
Sean Jackson's there too, though.
Mike Evans,
Familiar
too.
target for him.
Deshaun Jackson's contract is up, isn't it?
Is it?
No, I think he signed
No,
a
he's
2-year
got
deal.
it,
I thought he
too.
signed
Well,
a
no,
2-year
two-year
deal.
deal? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
All right, let's move over to the NFC East. We have Carson. I
And
think
they
anyone,
have O.J. Howard there too.
I like O.J. Howard, yeah.
everyone with a brain would say Carson over Nick.
Carson Wentz, except for Napoleon.
Yes. Dak Prescott or Nick Foles?
Nick Foles.
Nick Foles.
Agreed. I'm just gonna I'll say Kirk Cousins in this spot. I'll put both of them, but Kirk Cousins
Well, no, you
or
got
Nick
Alex
Foles.
Smith.
Well, yeah, I know, but I haven't said Cousins
I
yet.
get it, yeah.
Yeah.
So I would definitely take Cousins over Foles,
Yeah.
but I would take Foles
I would
over
take
Alex
Foles
Smith
over Alex Smith.
right now.
I'd take them both. I'd take Foles over both of them.
You take Foles over Kirk Cousins.
Look at Cousins in prime time situations. Look at his record.
I hear you.
He's not a big game quarterback.
I know that stat, but I don't know, man.
I like Cousins, and listen, with
I
the
don't know,
Redskins,
man.
Put,
he's
put better talent around him.
I would
Yes.
pick Cousins. If you had asked me this the beginning of the year, I would have said no. Wait, no, but if
No,
Foles
you wouldn't,
wasn't,
because if
I
Foles
wouldn't
wasn't the
have.
Super Bowl MVP at the beginning of the year.
I would still say Cousins. I
I-
would say Cousins.
I think out of any quarterback we've named, the closest is Cousins and Foles because Cousins is very stable, and the Redskins are not by any means. So it was really kind of a mismatch.
Yeah.
To where if he goes into a stable organization, I think he can flourish. But I'm judging Kirk Cousins so far. Somebody has a Super Bowl ring,
I
somebody
think-
doesn't.
I just think
No,
Cousins.
still
I think
going.
Cousins.
I'm still going
yeah.
with Kirk Cousins. Trent Dilfer's got a ring, too.
Yeah.
We'll agree to disagree. And finally, Eli Manning or Nick Foles?
Right now,
I would take Nick Foles.
Nick Foles over Eli Manning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm more on your wavelength. I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
Oh, man, that's really
But it's already.
hard.
No, I would
Pretty
take
sure it
It's
was
Nick
so
Foles.
hard.
But I'm pretty sure it was already guaranteed this is Eli's last year.
Who knows
Yeah, but
anymore.
if you're thinking of it in terms of you have to trade for Nick Foles is only under contract for one more year.
They could extend him though.
They could extend. I mean, I don't know.
I
I think
would
it's
pick-
definitely Eli's last year. I don't think he's come out and said
I would
that.
pick Foles.
Everything I've read, it's 90% chance
Well,
this is his last.
the one thing I would say that could maybe contradict that is that, and it's a report, obviously, nothing's official, but there's major reports coming out that they're going to pass on a quarterback at the number 2, which
See,
is like,
that's-
okay.
I don't agree with that decision at all.
So
They better take a quarterback.
freaking
They
trade
better not
somebody.
pick Barkley. I swear to God.
Chad Moses does not like that some of us took Kirk Cousins over Nick Foles. He keeps commenting.
I agree,
he
Chad.
commented a bunch
You
of
preach
times,
it to the
Foles
people.
Over Cousins all day.
Guys, I can't. It's, Kirk
No, I
Cousins
can't, no.
is a
Not.
good quarterback.
Yeah, you're
I can't.
you
like,
have to look at the situation.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins has never had really good talent around him. I think Washington, in the small bits of success they have had over the last few years, were on the shoulders of Kirk Cousins.
I would
Yeah.
tend to agree
Carrying
with that,
them.
Yeah.
This is what I'll say. And listen, if you want to pull this up, and correct me if I'm wrong, look at Kirk Cousins
Against
Monday Night
teams-
Football record, just on Monday Night
okay.
Football. Okay, 2. We've heard
Can't
all
look it up.
year people calling Carson Wentz a deer in headlights. No, if you want to look up the term deer in headlights in the dictionary, you know whose picture you see? Kirk Cousins, and that's a fact. I like Kirk. I think he can be a great quarterback. But this entire argument, this entire discussion is basing what we've seen so far. You understand? So I look at it as Nick Foles had the great season in 2013. He literally put a team on his back in a game against Tom Brady where the defense sucked, and he won us the Super Bowl. You understand? And Nick Foles, is the exact opposite of Kirk Cousins, where he is a big game quarterback. You can't argue that. And in the
I will
big
say
games,
this,
that's where it matters.
I don't know the record, and I don't know how you find it, but I know that his record against teams over
Over
500 in
is
his
bad.
career is bad.
It's bad.
I'm looking up.
So while you're looking that up, Dion says,
do your thing.
"Man F!" exclamation points. Everything Dallas, I'd take me over Dak. Resort back to my QB days. I wasn't that good, LOL, but I had the spirit of Randall running through me. Probably why I found a home at wide receiver and tight end in high school and college. That was Deion Brown. And then he says, why Goff over Foles when he ultimately came in and finished the game off for Carson? So you're asking why would we take Goff over Foles?
Yeah, I don't. No, I mean,
Because I really like Goff.
I really like
Because I think
Goff, too.
Goff is going to be a franchise.
I think Goff is.
quarterback.
Yeah,
He's a
Goff
top-
is in his second season. Nick
Probably
Foles is 29 years old.
Probably, arguably, a top 4 or 5 young quarterbacks in the league right now, and super young, over a 30-year-old Nick Foles.
Can
Exactly.
we? I mean, okay.
I think Goff is going to be a quarterback that you can build that team
I
around.
know that Foles.
4-9 in night games for Kirk Cousins,
Yeah.
whatever that means. So I guess that's like Sunday, including Sunday, Monday, and Thursday.
Maybe the lights
He's
get in his
4-9.
eyes.
No, really?
4-9.
I'm pretty sure because I thought, and listen, correct me if
It's
I'm wrong.
just off of this. I don't know.
I was pretty sure that Kirk Cousins has
Oh,
not won a
Mondays.
Monday
I
Night
got
Football
you.
game.
0-6
Yes,
Monday night. There
he
it
has
is.
not won. I mean, that's
In his defense, 67% completions, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So it's not like he's played poorly
It's a
on
team.
Monday night.
0 wins.
Bad
94.3
team.
quarterback.
It's not
rating.
always on him, though.
Yeah. You can't just say win 0 wins. Like, look at the team.
He's bad on Thursday nights too.
Yeah.
1-4.
That's what people get paid for. I'm just saying.
But that's such a short-sighted way to look
It's
at
not.
it. Like, you
We'll
can't.
win Super
How
Bowls.
is it not?
Wins.
Well, why? I mean, you're going to say that because Foles won these Super Bowls, he's better than majority of the quarterbacks because it's
I didn't
all
say
on
that.
him.
We're just talking
But
Cousins.
but we're talking. Yeah, but you have to translate your argument to everywhere else. It's a team game. Like
Okay.
I'm not going to look at Cousins' record and say, oh, he's 0-6 in Monday Night Football games and say, oh, he can't play under big lights.
Well,
No, because I'm looking at also his numbers and I'm remembering what he did, and it's not all on him. It's also what he can do with the talent around him. I was one at the beginning of the season. I'll say it again. I've told you guys numerous times. Beginning of the season, I did not believe in Kirk Cousins.
Mhm.
But what he did this year, with all those injuries around him on that team, with everything diminishing on offense, all the players going down week after week after week, he still played and still played at a very high level for a quarterback. That proved to me that got me to change my mind on him. You're talking about someone who considered the fact that he had a bad record, didn't play well against top teams, like teams that are over 500. I took that in consideration, and how he played this year got me to change my stance on him because he proved to me that he can take whatever little he has and make the most out of it.
Chad Moses says, did you see his throws? Yes, Foles is better, and he was chill, has no pulse. Marcos says, in Cousins' defense, the Skins O-line is always injured. Which is
100%.
Yes.
Listen.
absolutely the
Yes,
truth.
O-line's always injured. Guys, can we what I was going to say a few minutes ago is, can we not – all right, it's this thing with recency
Flyers
bias.
won 3-2
Yes, in overtime.
by the way.
Jake Voracek.
Jake
yep.
Voracek.
Thank you, Ralph,
Foles
for chiming
had
that in for us.
Foles
buddy.
had a historic Super Bowl performance and a historic game against the Vikings. Okay, I'm not taking that away, but at the same time, before that, what was the book on him? What was the narrative? What was everyone saying? That he was struggling in games prior to that. So that's not. We can take into account what he did the past 2 games to finish off the season and the magnitude of those 2 games. But let's not act like he was lighting the roof on fire through this whole playoff run through the end of the season. He still struggled. Foles is not without flaws in his game as well.
Listen. I mean, I'm just gonna say this. I mean, yes, we won the Super Bowl with Foles. He played amazing. I called him Nicky Montana, but we're talking the history of a guy. Foles went elsewhere and absolutely tanked. I know it was Jeff Fisher. But you have to take into account elsewhere. Nick Foles also went to a shitty team, and he couldn't carry them on the back the way that I feel like Kirk Cousins has been able to do at Washington with very minimal talent on that Washington team over the years. He had Pierre Garçon for a while. He's had spurts of good, talented guys to throw the ball to.
Jordan Reed doesn't have a concussion.
Right, and your offensive line can't ever stay healthy, and your defense takes a shit all the time. I feel like you're undercutting what Kirk Cousins actually did. Like you said, his numbers yes, they got losses, but his numbers aren't bad. Nick Foles' track record on other teams has not been good. And Nick Foles, in his career, has had a lot more talent on the bookends of where he's been at with the Eagles than Kirk Cousins has ever had.
Listen,
And he had Deshaun Jackson
what
for a
would
while.
have What would have?
But it wasn't the Deshaun Jackson that he had in Philadelphia.
You put Foles behind the Redskins O-line this year. What could Foles have done? Tell me.
We don't know. It's
like,
kind of an impossible question to answer.
Thank you.
It's
Paul.
it's hypothetical.
Yeah, and this is my entire point. By no means, I'm not gonna call myself a Kirk Cousins guy, especially this moment. But I like Kirk Cousins. I
know
always
you do.
have.
I know you do.
To where I'm not calling Kirk Cousins a bad quarterback. My point is, we can make hypotheticals saying, oh well, if this guy was here, if this guy was here, that's exactly like the argument Nick Wright would make every freaking week by saying, if the Eagles didn't, if Jake Elliott didn't kick that long field goal, we cannot argue stuff that doesn't happen.
You're right.
I can only look at what actually happens. Listen, if we want to make the argument that Kirk Cousins had a bad O-line, that's fine. But we also have to bring into account, like you said, Charles, that before the playoff run, that Nick Foles was looked at as guys who struggled. Well, guess what? Let's break it down even further. Why did he struggle? What were we all saying on this couch? Because the weather freaking sucked, to where if we went outside, we're going to freeze, let alone throw a football. Everyone who came here, Derek Carr sucked, Dak Prescott sucked, Nick Foles sucked. You know what I'm saying? To where we have to bring that into account. The storyline with Nick Foles was not that he sucked, was that question mark, because it's been a while, because we knew Jeff Fisher was an idiot with the quarterbacks. He established no relationship, which we'd find out later when we saw the video where he cut him over a freaking phone call and asked him, hey, how's your family? And he didn't have a freaking wife at the time, to where it's like, okay, you do not care whatsoever, dude.
Right.
You can only argue what's actually happened.
So to argue what's actually happened, you're talking about a quarterback who essentially was on the brink of retirement because it was so bad. And I know, again, you're talking about a Jeff Fisher situation. But that being said, the guy played in a dome. He just couldn't get it done. He lost his job. To Case Keenum. We're talking wins and losses here and results on the field. What results did Nick Foles have?
Kirk Cousins,
even going into this, he let's not forget that before the Atlanta game, people were calling for Nick Foles' head.
Yeah.
People were still asking to bring in Colin Kaepernick and all these other
guys. Some people question Nate Sudfeld should be
right, which was the worst thing ever, by the way.
I will go back because, like I said, I opened it up when I said Cousins or Foles. I said this is by far the closest. So I'm not saying it's a landslide.
No. What I will agree with you on is it is definitely it's a decent argument that you had a little more of an argument that I could see.
Well, this
than on the surface.
This is my one thing I will continue to say that breaks it into Foles over Cousins. It's big games. You cannot take away that Nick Foles, in his career, the 4 playoff games he's played, the passer rating, where it's what? The first quarterback or one of the first.
A lot better talent around him on the field, though.
It doesn't
you
matter.
Can't take
you
that.
have to perform.
But you can't take that away either, though.
I'm not taking it away.
No, but
and Kirk Cousins, you got to think of it this too. Kirk Cousins took 2 teams to the playoffs.
That's fine.
Yes.
On his own.
So I'm just saying that's you have to.
You can't take that.
You got to
away
win some
either.
games in the NFL in order to make the playoffs. He's done it twice.
And
you're talking about what you're talking about, Ryan, is context, and that's exactly what my point was trying to be, was that when I was saying, you put Foles behind the Redskins O-line, it's not that I want to say, okay, what would he have done with this specific players? What I'm saying is put him in a circumstance where he doesn't have an elite O-line. What from what you've seen, what can he do? We talk about through my weeks of learning through the scouting academy, what a lot of these scouts have said is you have to always consider context. Who are they facing? Who is on their team? What circumstances are surrounding each player? You can't just take a performance high and dry each time for what it is compared to the next. You have to consider that there are circumstances in each play, in each game, that can alter certain things. And so you have to
having
consider,
Jeff Fisher as your head coach.
That's fine. That's fine.
Everything has to be considered. So although you want to discount me for when I said put Foles behind a bad O line and say it's a Nick Wright line, I'm not saying it's a Nick Wright line. I'm saying that let's put into context what Foles is able to do when he he's not in an ideal circumstance.
I think what would be a real good measuring stick is for Cousins to go elsewhere this year and
Sure.
see
Well,
what
and
he's
that's
made
and
of.
that's why the argument is so good. It's because we're going to be able to get a chance to see it.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually incorrect that Kirk Cousins, he's played in 2 playoff games. One was the year that RG3 got him into the playoffs and got hurt.
Okay, yeah.
So he finished that game. But the one year that he did get Washington in the playoffs, that was 2015. They lost, but Cousins, 63%, 29 yards, a touchdown, no picks, passer rating of, it was there. I just saw it. Where did it go?
What was the final
A
score of
passer
that
rating
game?
of 91.7. He got sacked 6 times in that game.
Yeah, that was against Green Bay, right? Was it against Green
I
Bay?
Offensive line.
believe it was.
He's never had a healthy or a good offensive line in front of him.
I'll say this one more time, then I'll shut up. All right. I think it's extremely close. I will continue to say that. But
Yes,
the reason,
Green
the
Bay.
thing that pushes it over the line of again, the whole question is who you'd rather have, not who's
Right.
better. Who'd you rather have? First off, Nick Foles has played in 4 playoff games, 1 in the Super Bowl, and 1. The other guys played in 1 and lost. Listen, I'm not saying Kirk Cousins sucks because he lost that one, but no, I'm saying because I'd rather have Foles given the experience. He's been there, he's won it, and he's had better performances. Whether you want to say that's guys
Right.
around
See?
you or not.
What
See,
I would
I understand that. See, I understand and I sympathize with not sympathize, but I
Yeah,
can
that's a bad
definitely I can
you
definitely
understand.
It's not the-
I
not the
get
right
it
word.
because
He's like,
because
definitely not
I'm
the
gonna
right
bring this
word.
up again. It's the same argument I make for Westbrook when he's had plays
Oh
in the
hell,
playoffs.
now I'm out. Now I'm
All
out.
right, so I'm just gonna say it again.
We're
It's the
all
same
out.
exact
We're all
argument.
out.
It's the same exact argument.
We're all out. No, but so I would say, and it's a fair point. My point to counter that would be, Nick Foles has never done it over a 16-game season ever,
That's I got it.
and
And
Kirk Cousins has.
and
That's
also-
so that would be my count. To which I think both are good arguments on their own. I really do.
Yeah.
I think there's merits to both.
And also, I feel like, and I hope if he goes elsewhere, Foles too proves us wrong. I just feel like he's a system quarterback in
Yeah.
this system.
I feel like that too.
He has
I
not.
think like a lot of quarterback, and like this is coming from someone who's I've studied so many freaking quarterbacks over the last 5 or so years. So much of young quarterbacks, it depends on where they end up, who's coaching them, and it's like you said, Charles.
Yeah.
It's all context because it matters. Every single piece of it matters. When Jared Goff had Jeff Fisher, a garbage offensive line, and no receivers, he was terrible.
Yeah.
Next year, you get McVay, you sign 2 veteran offensive linemen, you get the running game going, you trade for
Who did
Sammy
Cubs have?
Watkins, you
Mike
sign
Shanahan?
Robert Woods,
Awful.
yeah, I
and
think I don't-
it takes that. Like
Yeah.
it all like it's all a factor.
It
like
is.
if let's just say that the Rams had for whatever crazy reason had decided to keep Jeff Fisher and let Jared Goff go down that same path. There's a chance Jared Goff could have never developed, and if the organization
Yeah.
would have chosen Jeff Fisher over Jared Goff, that's
Yeah.
not an impossibility. Luckily for them, they made the right
You're
decision.
100% on it. I think that I do think that there is still a difference between a system quarterback and a quarterback who can play in any system. I think you have guys like Wentz and
the
Aaron
great
Rodgers.
elite
Yeah, who
quarterbacks can play in any system.
I think that also the moniker and the whole reputation behind being labeled as a system quarterback is too negative. I think that you have to realize that saying a person is a system quarterback isn't always a bad thing. It is literally just saying they are
They
in a right
thrive
system.
in
They
this
thrive in
system.
this system.
Yeah.
I will go out and say this, and if you want to crucify me, you can. Tom Brady is a system quarterback, but he is by God the best system quarterback to ever live, because in that system he's pretty much perfected that system in a way that no other quarterback has ever
But
perfected.
again, it's circumstance. If Tom Brady doesn't end up with the Patriots, who
What
knows?
happened? Yeah, who knows
It's
what
just
happened?
Chad Moses does not like the Dolphins franchise tag on
Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, I don't love it either.
We don't love it either, and I'm a
Yeah.
Dolphins
I
guy.
It's
wanted
a
to
lot
see
of
him
money
go
for a
elsewhere.
slot
It's
receiver.
Yeah.
it's over the top.
SJM86 chimes in on the quarterbacks who he'd rather have over Foles. He said, "I'm taking these quarterbacks over Foles: Wentz, Newton, Breeze, Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, Winston, Mariota, Andrew Luck, Big Ben, Rivers, Carr, Rodgers, Stafford, Wilson."
I think we agreed on pretty much all of them.
Most of them.
Yeah.
We
Certain
took. Well,
guy
we
he
took.
left off the list. That's right, SJM.
Kirk
What?
Cousins.
That's right.
Oh my God! I think the
I had
ending
12.
tally was 11.
I
or
had
12.
12.
So
I had
that
12.
makes him.
That puts him in the
top
top
20.
half, or
I
maybe the
took
top
12,
half of the league.
so you count out of 31. I got him at 19. So he would be the 19th best quarterback on.
That's
Around the
league
top
right now.
20.
That's
Yeah.
pretty
pretty
good.
much, yeah.
And for the 19th best quarterback in the league to be on the market, you should be able to get something for him.
He'll get
Yep.
paid.
I have him at 21 overall. 21st best quarterback in the league.
That's fine.
That would be
That's
fair.
it. That
Where
is
do you have
great.
Kirk Cousins?
We're not going to talk about
Dion says A2D radios among on other radio outlet who I'll not name, only afternoon show. 3 former Eagles players on that station, so yes, I'll take what they say because they've been on the field. Not some crumb who never played, so I take into consideration them in this channel. A valid point is a valid point. Who's
What?
the crumb? I don't know. Was it somebody else? Is he talking about Nick Wright?
I don't know what he's talking
Talking about me?
I don't know. He's
What?
talking about me?
He's talking about me.
Talking about all of us?
I can assure you, Ryan's not a crumb.
He's not a crumb.
I can be crummish at times.
We have a Chrome.
Yes.
A
Do you
crumb?
have a crumb?
Maybe
but not
that's
a
me. Yeah.
crumb.
I am
I gotta
Uncle
read it.
Crumb to my buddy. Yeah. You gonna read it?
Yeah, I'm about to read it now, too.
I got to study. I got to see what he's saying.
I love it, guys.
Dion, translate.
Hey, who was
Yeah,
it?
Dion, what were you saying?
I like Dion, too. I
I
hope
was
he's
gonna
not
say,
talking about me.
nah, Dion.
No, I don't think he meant anything.
No, he's
Right.
talking about. I think he's talking about another radio outlet.
Yeah.
He said he's not going to name them.
What are they
Okay.
talking?
I don't
Smack
know.
or something?
No.
I
Anyway.
don't know.
I think he's talking about other people. I don't think he's calling anybody here crumbs.
The YouTube chat, by the way, was blowing
Oh,
up.
I saw it. I'm
Why,
like, oh,
like-
God, what'd I do? What'd I do?
It was blowing up with feedback about our quarterback
Go to YouTube.
thing.
Go ahead. Let's get it.
There's just I don't know where to start. Do you want to start because
You guys
I can
go
help
back
you.
and-
Yeah,
you guys could go back.
You
and
go
forth.
one, I'll go another.
I don't even know. You just read off because I'm trying to backtrack to where it started.
I mean,
It's
they're
like-
talking Fergie in here. They're talking McNabb.
Fergie.
Fergie, it was so
Sixers,
bad. Did you see that?
Flyers.
That's
It was
That was
so
painful.
bad.
Here's what I'll say
Oh,
about
it was
Fergie.
so disrespectful.
Actually, let's talk about the NBA All-Star Game 2 seconds here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I liked the new format.
Yeah.
I actually found it to be a very entertaining game.
Sure.
They played some defense.
I
In the
did.
last 5 minutes, yes.
Well, there were spurts of it early in the game.
That's
too.
every All-Star game.
They played. Well, not last year. Last year
No.
was like
Oh, yeah.
400 combined points.
Yeah, it was brutal.
But they played. I enjoyed it, and Fergie's rendition was the worst thing ever. And the reactions on the players' faces
Oh,
were
dude,
amazing.
Draymond's was the
Yes.
best.
But I'll say this for Fergie. She owned it. She said, hey, sometimes you try things, they don't work. Obviously, the
My
direction
thing is
I
this,
went
like-
didn't work.
Yeah, I'm
she had to rehearse that. Didn't
That's
anyone?
what I was wondering.
Wouldn't someone be like, "Yo,
yeah,
Fergie,
yeah.
I don't know
Who's
about
advising
this.
her? Who is
someone on her
advising her
team-
on this?
I mean, they've got
Yeah.
like a mole in there. Like, there's someone on her team like said like, oh, that's a great idea. Like, do a rendition of freaking Marilyn Monroe, "Happy Birthday, Mr. President."
God, it
Like,
was
that's what it
bad.
reminded me of. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
God,
Yeah,
Marilyn.
It was bad.
It was
Um,
really bad.
So Sixers JT, and he makes a good point. Oh no, I'm sorry, Foolish Demon said talking about Kirk Cousins. He said he almost beat the Chiefs on Monday Night Football this year, and this is where I
That
could
was
be.
a hell of a game.
This
Yeah.
is where I become crummish because whenever someone says almost won,
Sure.
I'm like,
Horseshoes and hand grenades.
almost just had to throw. Almost did he win? No. Like, for example, like if Foles didn't win the Super Bowl,
Sure.
first off, I'd be upset, very upset, as all of us would be. But if the argument like around the city was like, oh well, oh my gosh, Nick Foles almost beat the Patriots, I'd be like, but he didn't. You know what I mean? So it works both ways.
Sure.
But in fairness, our conversation that we had, even though they lost the Kansas City game, it was a game that we almost won and didn't think going into the season that would be something we would have a shot at getting
Yeah.
a W in.
Yeah.
So we took the almost and turned it into a positive.
Listen, I'm just reading stuff that fits my narrative at the moment. Again, crummish. Sixer JT, what's going on, JT? He says, I would like Cousins if he didn't play in a Skins uniform, so I'm hoping he goes somewhere like Denver and does good.
I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
probably what's going to happen.
Where do you guys – we put out the question earlier on where Cousins will go, and I put in there, I said he should go – oh, no, I'm sorry, where he should go. I said he should go to Jacksonville, but he
Absolutely.
will go to the Browns.
I think he
Browns,
will go
okay.
to the
Yeah,
Jets.
I really think he's going to the Browns.
So I agree with you. Should be Jacksonville.
Yeah.
But I say my thing is either the Jets or Denver. Because I think the Jets will pony up and they got plenty of cash to do it.
Yeah.
I also think that John Elway can figure out a way to get Kirk Cousins here.
Yeah.
If he does, because my thing is this: you could take a gamble and hope that either Darnold or Rosen falls to you at 5, but man, that's a hell of a gamble. And are you going to go in with Baker Mayfield, who I actually really do like? But man, that's a gamble at pick 5.
Yeah,
I don't know him and John Elway. I could see them butting heads a little bit.
I'm with Paul. I think Jacksonville to me is the logical landing spot. Denver's probably where I see him going. I hope not the Jets, but I just don't know that I see him going to Cleveland.
I don't see.
I don't know unless they.
I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule it out because they have plenty of money, and now that they got Dorsey in charge, Dorsey is a football guy, so he might be able to talk Cousins. He might be able to woo Cousins by saying, "Hey, we're turning this damn franchise around, and you could be a part of it."
People might rip me to shreds for saying this, but going to the Browns, it would be equivalent to going to the Jets for the money, but I think the Browns have a better situation for him. And people could call me crazy, but we talked about it a couple weeks ago.
It's not that
Gordon,
crazy.
Coleman, and then the possibility of getting Saquon.
That defense, too.
He clarified.
Yeah.
He said,
please.
no, the Cowboys fan, it makes me sick to even say his name, Skip Bayless. Is who he was talking
Ah.
He said, never you guys. Nick Wright's name came up, and I said, I don't care about his opinion or Nick Wright's, especially Bayless. Never will ever disrespect this panel. We know you wouldn't, Dion.
Just
why
checking.
we're
That's why we were
asked-
confused.
That's why we asked
Yeah.
to clarify, because we could be
Yeah.
crumbs sometimes.
Come in.
And
Speak for
the
yourself.
other radio,
I'm always a crumb.
and he was talking about the dial. So
Sweet.
Yeah.
I do like Ike. I like Ike though. I won't.
He
Yeah,
didn't.
I agree
Hey, he
with
didn't.
The other ones I kind of agree. I like Ike.
He didn't quit on this team. I will say that about Ike.
Yeah.
He never quit on
This
that
is
team.
very true.
Mm-hmm.
Sixers JT talking about like the quarterbacks. He said Mariota is much better than Jameis Winston. That's actually.
Yeah, I mean, much better might be,
I take
but
Mariota.
I definitely would take Mariota.
He's
I
further
I wouldn't.
along.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a decision.
I would take
if I had to-
Mariota over Jameis Winston.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I had to choose, like it wouldn't even be a thought. I would say Mariota immediately.
Like I was talking to you, Chrome, during the break. Like that game, the whole "Would you rather"
Mhm.
quarterback game. That's like my favorite game to play in the
Mhm.
off
It's a
season.
fun
So
game.
how if you guys want, other shows here to do that every couple weeks, let us know.
Yeah.
Hell,
Yeah, absolutely.
it'll trigger an argument like friggin'
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was existent, the Cousins versus Foles thing. And I became Crummish for 5 seconds. Like, that's what happened. It just triggers me.
We're just a panel of crumbs.
They're-
Thank Dion. Dion gave us our nickname. We're the crumbs of the station.
Very nice.
I love it.
Crumbs.
Thank
of
you,
ATV.
Dion.
Let's see. They're making fun of Tony Romo in there.
Oh.
Let's see. Just a lot. Let's see. M-Cam was saying give Fergie the franchise tag. Let's see. Foolish Demon ranks it. He says Cousins goes to, and his options are number 1, Denver, number 2, Jets, number 3, Jags, number 4, Browns.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's with.
Just don't see the
It's
Browns.
so open right now. I wouldn't be surprised if any of those teams. I really wouldn't be.
Sixer JT is not happy with me at the moment. He said, Brodo, you would take the Browns over the Jets. I'm sorry, but no.
I would just because I hate the Jets.
JT, I mean, I understand it's the
It's a
Browns.
personal thing. I hate the Jets.
No, I get it though, and like not only.
I've always hated the
Although the
Jets.
Jets have some pieces on defense too, but the Browns have a lot of good pieces on defense that I like a lot.
My thing is, if I'm Kirk Cousins, I don't care who's in charge right now. As a franchise and an organization, they've not been able to get their act together for so long.
Yeah, no, it's fair.
To me, it's like the situation with the Sixers. Like, okay, cool, they have all these assets, but until I see it on the field and see it in front of me, I don't know that as a veteran like a Kirk Cousins who has a chance to go other places that have more
Right.
pieces in place
That's fair.
to win than be part of a rebuild process.
Mm-hmm.
He's young, but he's not that young to where I just would
It
see
depends
him
on what he
going to-
favors. It depends on what he.
Right.
It depends on so.
Like
If he's basically like if he's ring chasing, then obviously no, you don't go to the Browns. But if you're looking for money, Browns make a lot of sense. Also, too, I think like I said earlier, it's the thought of he could be the guy who he could be the quarterback that helps resurrect the Browns. Like he would be a folk hero in Cleveland for the rest of his life.
Absolutely.
Even if he just comes in and gets into the playoffs once, He's like a folk hero. You know what I mean?
But that's been the sale on every quarterback for years and years and years. How many quarterbacks have they had?
Well, how many big name free agents have they been able to bring in?
Because they stink.
And
yeah, because they keep drafting quarterbacks who stink.
That's my point. Is that like, for example, like DeShone Kizer?
Bad situations.
I don't think anyone thinks he's going to be a superstar by any means. DeShone Kizer.
DeShone Kizer coming out.
But like, here's the thing:
it's
a shame for him because they're going to basically give him 1 year with nothing, and it basically when he was already not. I don't think he was ready.
He needed to be in a better situation. Yeah.
Yes.
When I talk about context and guys need to be in a better situation, DeShone Kizer needed to have a damn clipboard in his hands for a season.
He needed to be Patrick Mahomes, basically
Yes,
sitting out and then playing one game at the end.
I thought the Steelers would have been a good spot. That was my spot. I thought would have been perfect for him to back up Big Ben.
And anyway, like the chat's talking about how much they love Barkley. Well, and then like
I was about to.
Well,
I was about to because I'm actually talking to people about it. Yeah.
And my point is that, okay, like the reason why I say Browns, and I think the Browns are, I mean, they're fools over there. Good Lord, the things that they do. But when you compare Jets and Browns, which is all I'm doing, because I don't think the Browns should be number one. I think Jacksonville should be number one as far as like go-to spots for Kirk. I'm just comparing Jets and Browns. The Browns have 2 first-round picks in the first 5.
Yeah, that's a great point too, because if they take Kirk Cousins, they could trade out of 1 for a team that needs a quarterback and still have 4.
No.
That's what you're thinking. Okay,
you're overthinking.
I'm overthinking. All right, go for it.
You don't trade out of 1 because you get Saquon. This is my whole point.
If I get Saquon at 4.
No. I don't think he'd pick if he's there at 2, Giants take him.
All right.
No.
I don't want it either,
I
Charles.
don't want that negativity. I don't
it's
want
not
that
negativity. It's real. It's real talk.
No.
Hashtag real talk.
No,
Hashtag
I'm not.
talk.
That is like one of my worst nightmares, okay?
Continue,
just
Ryan.
no. Just no.
So my whole thing is that we can say the Browns are the Browns, but the Browns with Kirk Cousins, who may be better than Nick Foles, and
Saquon
Barkley
and maybe
with
Micah Fitzpatrick.
With a Josh Gordon that's hopefully behaving himself, Coleman, freaking a second-year Myles Garrett, and that defense.
That's a team.
That's not the Cleveland Browns anymore. That's like hashtag better than the Bengals.
Yeah, and that's it's funny because you think because then they could go pick 4.
Fair point.
They could take Micah Fitzpatrick from Alabama, who has the potential to be an all-pro caliber safety. Then with pick 33, you take a tight end, who put on the other side of Njoku, who they like. All of a sudden, you got a little bit of a football team.
And then look at that division. Who's the
Steelers and everyone else?
How many years does Big Ben have left? You scared of friggin' Andy Dalton,
1
Joe
or 2?
Flacco? Literally, if Kirk Cousins goes there with Saquon, they could literally take over that division in 2 years or 3. I'm not saying they're winning Super Bowls, but just mapping it out.
It's not that crazy to think that that's a possibility. It's not. It's not that crazy.
By the way,
really not.
when do you want to, as far as time?
10:30. Wrap it up 10:30.
Cool.
Sorry, I'm like toning out because I'm like.
No, that's fine.
With the chat with everyone because they're having good conversations.
Chad does not like any idea that Cousins is better than Foles, which he made very clear earlier too.
Yeah.
Listen, Chad, I appreciate you for helping me, man. I'm on an island over
Chad.
here.
That's why it's A2D, brother. We agree to disagree. Love the conversation, though.
So what? He agrees.
He wants to know if he likes Foles better than Cousins. Ryan, you can't see it, Chad, but Ryan is fist pumping right now.
I'm on an island over here.
Chad also asks, "Is Eli done?" Again, we kind of touched on it earlier. I've read that this is likely his last year there.
But I'd say no. So I mean,
if I was him, I'd tell them to shove it up.
Oh,
their
I
ass
would
and
too.
Get out.
If I were him, I'd go to Jacksonville.
I'm with you. I would.
Let's be
forced
real.
him to trade me last year.
Say what you will. With that team, with nothing to play for, and with nothing on that roster, he scorched that Eagles defense. Say what you will, and the Eagles defense was beat up at that point. They were tired. It was on the road. They're playing a non-playoff team. They just came off losing their franchise quarterback. So I get all that. But Eli played a phenomenal game that day. He really did. You know what? He played a phenomenal game the first time they played the Eagles too. And it took a 61-yard miraculous field goal for them to win. Eli's going to get – Odell's going to be back. Evan Ingram developed as a really good tight end. If they get – the biggest priority with them is, man, they have to get an
Brandon
offensive
Marshall
line.
No,
No.
No,
he
it was
only
a
signed
1 year.
Yeah.
It was a 1 year deal.
Yeah.
Well, they're better off without
Yeah.
him.
No, I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But no, their number one priority, they need an offensive line. They need multiple
Yes,
offensive
I was about
linemen.
to say that.
They need to do
more
what the
than
Rams
one.
did. They need to sign at least 2 veterans and then maybe draft another guy. They need offensive linemen badly.
Charles, you're going to be you're just not going to be a fan of me tonight because I'm going to say another thing that you're going to
Please
get
don't
mad
say
at me.
Barkley to the Giants again.
Well, all I'm saying is
Probably going to happen.
No, it's not. Just no.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Stop.
if
If they pass on a quarterback, I
I
think
think they
Barkley's
should
definitely
take a
the pick.
quarterback, but they're probably going to take.
I'll word it like this, okay?
Barkley.
For
All right,
Charles,
what were you gonna say?
if Barkley goes to the Giants, I'm sorry, the Giants are going to be good next year because then you have
No,
Eli.
they will be.
Eli's coming back, or
But
Eli's going to
They
be.
do need linemen,
stop.
though.
Oh, and I think that's their main focus.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not saying they can fix it all in one off season because that's very hard to do, but it's not impossible.
No.
And there's also not impossible to make strides. I think they are going to make strides given it's all about recognizing their faults, and that's number one
And
for them.
if you look at it, the rest of the division, I mean, everyone's chasing the Eagles right now, obviously. I mean, and who's really the second? I mean, I guess the Cowboys are the second best team as of right now. But
Maybe.
like, if you put, like you said, if you put Saquon Barkley on the Giants and you improve that offensive line, you might have a football team there.
The Cowboys need to reinvent their entire defense, in my opinion.
Well,
Not entire, but their secondary needs serious work.
I like Byron Jones. I actually like.
I do like
Jordan
Byron
Willis.
Jones. The corner that they took.
Yeah, I don't really love.
He
Yeah, I don't know.
played
I don't
better.
know. They're talking about moving him to corner now, and yeah. So in that case, they have no safeties.
I think
so
they need some
know.
receivers, but
Dion wants
Yeah.
to know if quotes Barkley's drafted by the Giants, does that pose somewhat of a problem in the NFC?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
He's going to be a monster.
Let's put it this way.
You don't want to see him.
Barkley-
You don't want to have to
Barkley-
see him twice a year.
Hell no.
Barkley's still.
You talk about having him and Zeke in the division.
Ugh.
stuff.
It's a
You-
lot to think
Barkley had what? But you watch college football. Barkley didn't have
Brian's
a spectacular
already tearing
college
up
football
over
year
here
this
at the
season,
thought of it.
correct? Am I correct? Like numbers wise, he didn't have like an eye popping.
He started
season.
out hot. He kind of cooled
Cooled
off
down.
because everyone was, and a lot of people really love Penn State's quarterback Trace McSorley. I don't see it. I don't think he's very
But
good. But that's just
what
me.
I was trying to say is, he had a subpar season, but he still. What was his yardage numbers?
I honestly don't know off the top of my head. I don't even care.
I think they were still
It doesn't
decent,
matter.
right? They were still.
No, I
don't
mean
know
he still had a very respectable season. Absolutely.
wasn't that
He was
from-
in the running for the Heisman until like week 7 or 8.
wasn't from what I've seen the few game films I've seen, wasn't their offensive line one of the worst?
It wasn't great. It was much improved. So when James Franklin first took over, their offensive line was absolute garbage, dumpster
Mhm.
fire, turnstile, terrible, like really bad.
Yeah.
It has
not good.
gotten better, but it is not. I would not say it is elite.
From
no.
what I've seen is there have been so many plays where Barkley is literally. It reminded me of Barry Sanders, where he would get literally like get at the mesh point, take the handoff, and there will already be
Yep.
like
Guys he's gotta beat
defenders-
off the ball,
He's got to
yeah.
beat off the ball, and you're talking about already he's negative like 2 to 3 yards
Yep.
behind the line of scrimmage. He has to fight just to get a 1 yard
See,
gain.
and I think it's funny because I know you and I have talked about this, and like I can't remember who wrote the article, but there was an article who basically they were saying Saquon Barkley, he's not perfect. There's holes in his game. A lot of times he missed holes.
Yes,
But I also think that's part of
The
what
O-line.
you alluded to
Yes.
is the offensive line. When that penetration's coming so often, he thinks he's got to make a play every
Exactly.
time instead of just hitting a hole when it's there.
Exactly.
So
That's
I think
why-
with a good offensive line,
that'll be
that
fixed.
that might be something
That's
that will
why-
be remedied.
Yeah, because
And with good coaching, obviously.
Yeah.
because I did
Yeah.
see that too, but I think that's something so minute that with a good offensive line
Yeah.
and good coaching, it'll
He'll
be
figure it
fixed.
out.
He's
Yeah.
just got to get used to the pro level, and that's what my point was to bring that up was, I think it can. Will it be a perfect translation? No, but I think he can. He's one of those running backs who can thrive off of a bad O-line. That's why I think if he goes to the Giants, it's trouble.
He creates yards. Absolutely.
Yes.
So since we're up against the clock, the thing we did not talk about, and we said we would, was Deuce and Grow. So let's talk about that. The new offensive coordinator, obviously, is Mike Grow. Deuce has been promoted to assistant head coach. How do you guys feel about it? The decision on who is in what role. What I'll say is I'm glad that they didn't go with a no offensive coordinator
Or the
or the co-offensive coordinator because I believe in defined roles. I just
fair.
think it creates too much of a possibility to have inconsistency. personally, again, I'm not in there. I don't hear what the interview is. I understand the reasoning. I believe Doug, as far as with losing Frank Reich and the advancement in the passing game this year, he wanted to keep that consistency, and obviously Mike Rowe is probably the better candidate for
Mike
that.
Rowe was a college quarterback.
Right. So I understand that. I personally I like Deuce for the role. I think
Sure.
Deuce's time is up. But I have no problem with it either. And I think one of the points you made when we were talking off air was it gives Deuce the opportunity possibly now to get to skip the coordinator position and maybe move right into a head coaching role at some
Well,
point.
because so as an assistant head coach, he's going to have more responsibility. He's going to be more involved with Doug too, so he can learn more about what it takes to be a head coach.
Yeah.
So I think that
Good point.
experience and putting that on his resume is going to look really good for Deuce. As far as like Mike, I think you kind of nailed it with Frank Reich was in essence like the passing game coordinator. Like that's what he did, and he helped Doug with the deep passing game. Like that's what he got. That's what he was known for. And again, Mike Rowe's experience as a college quarterback is something that can't be lost here either. And I think all that plays into the fact that that's the guy Doug wanted. And I also think there's something to be said that it takes a little guts to do that because as we all agree, and me personally too, Deuce seemed like the logical candidate. He seemed like the guy. So for them to go with Grow shows you that one, Mike Grow must be a really impressive coach in general, and two, Grow must have really blown Doug away in the interview process.
Yeah, and I think I agree with that too. And there's not a lot that I would question Doug Peterson about at this point.
Sure.
So if that's a decision he goes with, that's cool. I think we're gonna wrap it up. Charles, you want to throw in a last quick comment on that before we
real
jump
quick,
off?
What's your thoughts on this? Because I didn't watch. I guess I don't watch college. I haven't scouted him, but Sixers JT says, "Don't kill me, Charles." But Scarborough has the same explosiveness as Saquon. What do you say to that? I haven't studied Scarborough, so I can't say anything.
Bo is going to be a guy that someone's going to take in the middle rounds and is going to be really. I think he's a power running back though. Like I get what he's saying. Like for a guy who's with his size, he is really explosive. I wouldn't say he's as explosive as Barkley though. I think I don't think that's accurate because if he was, he'd be considered a top 10 pick.
Yeah, Sixers JT. I can't say either or.
Yeah, so I would say Bo is more likely going to be like a third, depending on how he does in the combine and all that. He'll more likely be a third round pick.
All right, so Chad's getting out of here. Chad, thank you for your comments tonight, buddy. I hope you join us again next week. So we're going to get ready to jump off. The only thing I'm going to say, because I think we'll address it next week, Marcos asked what we're going to take it, what we think that they will take at 32. Starting next week, he listed a bunch of positions.
There's a mock draft on NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com with my name on it.
Yeah.
You can check that out.
So Paulie does a lot of the mock drafts.
Myself.
We do post a lot of that stuff, or we share it in the Birds of a Feather group. Paulie's going to start going next week. We're going to go through a few of the positions and guys to watch on a week-by-week basis. So we'll roll that out next week. We'll make sure that we hit that next week. And the last comment, Marcos says, you wouldn't get a head coaching job as a running back coach, but if you're an assistant head coach, it's easier to get a head coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, guys, thank you for chiming in on YouTube, on Facebook. Thank you, Ryan, for another great show, and thank you for playing this wonderful music yet again.
Thank you, guys.
Chucks, Paul, guys, great show. Chrome here with you guys. Again, thank you for the comments. Live from the BMW of Atlantic City Studios, BMW of AtlanticCity.com. The music, it's killing me. I love it. Scanzano Sports, ScanzanoSports.com. StreamSmart, StreamSmart.com. Gibson Mayer LLC, our certified public accountant, making yours, GibsonMayer.com. Guys, we'll join you next week. Till then, take care. Dan, I love you, buddy.